continue my outlook for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First, our students, our schools. Raymond High School Unified PE Mentor Students. Then
Hi, so we have Ms. Bravo here with her Unified PE mentors to talk about the Unified PE program. They can introduce themselves.
Okay, this is the first year we've had the class. It's an adaptive PE class. And we have our special needs students with mentors ranging from 9th grade to 12th grade. There's about 18 kids in the class, and to me, it's been a wonderful experience. Just the growth that you see from both sides. They can probably talk a little bit more about what the class is and what we've done, how it's been beneficial, but it's been a wonderful addition to our PE curriculum. You want to go introduce themselves?
Hi, I'm Caden Calvani and I'm a senior.
Oh, I'm Meadow Mitchell. I'm a junior.
I'm Callie Derbyshire, I'm a 9th grade.
I'm Samantha Batchelder, I'm a senior.
So we have a pretty wide representation here. Katie, you want to start us off and talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, this class is a great experience because it helps develop with the special needs kids and it helps us grow as people as well. It helps us, especially if like I work with the kids at the elementary school. So some of the skills that I learned there, I can use in the class. So it helps me a lot with that stuff too.
Their experience?
I'll do. Okay. So for me, it's been really helpful because like I'm not an overly emotional person, but I feel like what I'm doing in that class really is beneficial for the special needs kids. And I can see it in them because like we'll pass each other in the hallway and like they've gained a lot of social confidence that they didn't have before. And like integrating them into like other groups of people rather than, isolating them or however we do that is like really kind of great because I don't think they would do things like that if they weren't around us personally.
It also helps, we make sure that they interact with all of us. We don't just have like specific groups that we set them with. We make sure like we do weight room 2 times a week. So every week we have one of the kids go with like 3 or 4 of us and do some of the machines. We do 3 upper body, 3 lower body, and then 2 core. And then the next week we'll switch it up a little bit. And then after we do the weight rooms, we'll go play different games. We play a type of like baseball game, kickball. We played a game with a frisbee this week, and we played a game called
Speedball.
yeah, it's a mix of football, basketball, soccer.
So we're kind of doing a lot of the same games that we do in our regular PE classes, just making adjustments to them with the ball, the goal, those sorts of things. One unique thing that we got to do this year, we only got to do it once because it was way too cold. What did we do?
Oh, the snowshoe.
We went snowshoeing. So we wanted to do it more, but then the weather was so cold we couldn't get outside. So we found one day where the temperature got high enough and we were able to go out and we snowshoed through the field over here, and then it really warmed up and we lost all the snow. So we do have those
I
that,
also got a group picture.
yes, we did take a group picture of everybody snowshoeing. So we do have those in our curriculum now too that we can use with this class as well as others. But that was a pretty neat experience because some of these kids had never done it before, and some of our special need kids had. So it was kind of interesting to watch that. Anything else?
I knew you had it in you, Meadow.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I've never seen you at a loss for words.
Guys, okay. like this is kind of going on what Sammy said. I really think that this is building a character for them. And like they wouldn't talk to me like in the hallway if I saw them 2 months ago. But now every time I see them, they'll be like, "Hi, Matt, are you excited for gym?" So excited. And I'll be like, "What do you think we're gonna do today?" Like we're having full on conversations now. And it's like I think it's really good for them. It's building character and they're getting more social with other people than just in their little room that they used to just be in. So now they're having the more high school experience with other kids than just with themselves, really.
Any questions for anyone?
Having worked with individuals with disabilities, before I started my current position, the profound effect you have on them, you'll never know how much that means to them. Even years from now, I still go back to Manchester and some of them will come up to me and just talk to me and stuff like, because they remember who I am. And they'll also have a profound effect on you later on. And you might not notice it as much now, but you will later on. Some of the things that they say and do, you wish you could do that. I mean, they'd be very sympathetic and stuff like that for individuals. And it's a very unique experience when you're helping people like that. And please continue that, doesn't have to be, you don't have to do it for a profession, even going up to somebody and just talking to them, you can have a great experience and help them out a lot.
I have a little funny story to tell you, and it happened today. And I won't call out names during the day, but we were playing a game, and one of the students was the person that was it, and he had to call out another student, and he did not want to call out that other student for being out of the game because they broke the rule. So he went over and he like whispered and put his hand up. He goes, "Hey, I think you moved, so now you're out." Right? Because he wasn't comfortable, or he didn't want to call anybody out on anything. And we all kind of got a chuckle, but I mean, he knew the rule of the game and he knew what he had to do, but he just like whispered to the person that they were out. So it was cute to see how he responded to that.
Yeah, they definitely keep you accounted for your actions.
Yes. Play right by the rules, by the book.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I was just gonna essentially the same thing Joe said, in terms of how you talked a lot about how they affected you, but I mean, how you affected them, but I was curious, to Joe's point, they will affect you. Do you guys, have a sense of how working with them has helped you see people differently?
I feel like it definitely has for me. Like, so I'm friends with a lot of people who are very standoffish and kind of abrupt and upfront and all those.
So teenagers.
Yes. But I feel like being around the special needs kids, it makes me feel more for them. Like, obviously I had a sense of empathy and sympathy for them, but I feel like now when things are said about them or like anything like that, I feel more accountable and like responsible to like stand up for them. And like, it comes easier to me because now I know them personally. So.
That's fantastic.
Davani, could you just quickly outline the class itself and the objectives?
With that, we follow the same thing as the other PE classes. We want people to enjoy being physically active. We want them to develop both physically and socially, and working as team members, being good sports, and trying new things. So I think with the variety of things that we do, from team sports to individual sports, to the importance of going into the weight room, they're getting all of that and the same things that we do in our other classes. It's just like we changed some rules. And we've done a lot more, I guess, a lot more like fun team type of things. And I think these guys have just as much fun as they do. And so do I, because it's one of my favorite classes to go to, because it doesn't matter like what we do that day. they're all gonna do it. They're all gonna try it, even if they've never done it before. And that shows those kids too, that, you know what, hey, it's worth a shot, and everybody's kind of on the same playing field with some of the things that we do. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, anyone else? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so motion to go into public.
I'll make a motion to get on, go into non-public under RSA 91A:3 Roman numeral C.
Second.
Second by Steve.
Third.
All right. We had a roll call, right?
Yep.
Steve?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Me, yes. Beth?
Yes.
John? Joe?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, no, this is the CBA.
Yes. I make a motion to exit non-public and seal the minutes.
Second. All right, second by Steve. Discussion, any? No. All right, is that a roll call?
It is.
All right, Steve.
Yes.
Yes.
John? Myself, yes.
Yes.
Yes, Joe?
Yes.
Unanimous. We'll open public comment for 30 minutes. Anyone for public comment? Come on down.
How you doing, everybody?
How you doing?
Representative NATO, just got done some yard work. It's pretty heartwarming to hear the kids working with the other ones with disabilities. It helps everybody grow in the long run. It really is really heartwarming to hear that. And it shouldn't be isolated, obviously. This part of society. Just wanted to say that. So I'm up in Concord. I don't get to go to the meetings. Sometimes I get some late nights. They get their money's worth.
And then some.
And then some. But I kind of wanted to kind of touch base with everybody. I know some people have approached me about fights in the schools. I'm like, maybe you should go to the schools and find out. I don't know that much about it, not being there, but do we have enough? I wanted to kind of find out for myself, do we have enough resource officers? Do we have somebody in the school? Because I don't know any of that part of it.
It's the kids being stupid and trying to pick fights. That's what a lot of it is. From what I know, I'm not exactly poking around trying to dig around and all that such, but from what I understand, it's just the kids not understanding the line and keep on crossing it, and they're going to get the consequences. And like the other kids are more than willing to dish it out.
Right, and that's been going on since the beginning of time.
But regarding the SRO question, we have an SRO that's through the Raymond Police Department. And when that officer needs to be called back, for lack of a better word, to the police department, they are. So we don't have an SRO that day or that period of time of the day. We'll be discussing tonight our budget because we have the default. And originally in our budget that we asked for an SRO that would be hired and paid for by the district so that we wouldn't have that conflict with the Raymond Police Department. So right now it's in the budget, or I don't know. Yeah, it's in the budget because I don't think it was one of the things. But that's where we stand on it, the SRO. And then we also would a little more say in where they go, when they go, if that was the case.
Sounds good. Thank you. I am oblivious to that part of it, so, and I appreciate everything that I emailed you on this stuff. I'm concerned about it. Obviously, it's others in town. I'm sure the parents of the bullies or the bulliers are concerned about it. And whatever we can do in Concord, let me know. Don't ask for money because the budget's tight. I don't handle that part of it. And I got 399 other legislators to go through. So I mean, we're gonna try to do what we can, obviously. But thank you for your time and everything.
I would love to meet because I think there's other things to talk about that maybe it's not money.
We'll be inviting our state reps
Yeah.
for discussion
Well,
in the future, right?
Joe has. Yeah.
Joe?
That's actually really good. One of the topics that we have for an agenda later on is to bring the state reps in. I think one of the things that state reps and a lot of parents don't know is that the school's hands are tied to a certain point. I mean, we're not allowed to do a lot of things that people, well, they could do 10, 15 years ago, you know?
Right.
And that's more the state than it is us. I mean, we can't sit there and kick somebody out of school just to kick somebody out of school because they're, you know, having doing stuff they really shouldn't be doing in school. There's certain things we have, procedures we follow and stuff like that. Even to that point, the state can sit there and say, you're going back to the school, even though we don't think they should be going back to the school.
Well, there's a book about this thick that
Oh,
I
yeah.
printed out about discipline and how to apply it. And
Yeah.
it's pretty extensive and
Right.
restricting too.
I know there's a ton of laws, and we don't want to tie the local control up, knot it up, you know, so we need ideas from both ends of it, I guess, you know, so we can mitigate problems without making more problems, so. But I'm glad I kind of had the time to make it this week. Last week was nice. I think I got home till after 7 o'clock. Or whatever it is, and it might still be that way coming up, so, but. I just want to keep in touch with everybody here in town. I'm representing Raymond, so, and, want to do the best I can, obviously, so. The more communication, the better. So let us know when you wanted to meet all the reps, and I look forward to it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Else for public comment? Right. Student representative to the school board.
Okay. So we have the prom on the May 16th in LaBelle Winery in Derry. As of today, I've got this from our advisor, Mrs. Polly. Prom committee has sold 165 tickets as of today. Last year, well, this year we sold more than 20 tickets than last year, so that's good, I guess. You know, more people dancing. Unfortunately, prom tickets end this week on Friday, and there's still going to be a little more spending from the junior class on different venues, such as the DJ. Obviously, there was a fight, I think on Friday, where the kid got sent to a hospital. I don't really know much about it. No, I'm not gonna snoop around on too much about that. I don't know, unless you guys want me to. I don't know about that. And then Site Council and me wondering if you guys have made any decisions about the wands and yeah, like what was just an idea, or is it going to be implemented, or have you guys talked about that?
He's referencing, I think, the ones. It has to go through policy committee.
Yeah, I was just
We
like,
do that.
asking for
And policy committee hasn't met yet, but it would be on the list of, for the policy committee to do.
when would they meet?
As needed. And there's no specified time for that. It's when needed, and it could be on a Monday or it could be on a Friday. Well, Friday's less likely.
Tuesday. That, all right, thank you very much. 2025, 2028 REA CBA signing. So. Into that, anyone want to come down and
I guess representatives from the CBA come down,
have,
signs it.
we can sign it? All right. Yeah, we can go. So, boards.
Thank you. I have one. Go figure.
Tony, can I go while they're signing? Yes.
Thank you.
I just wanted to thank the REA. We've got a great agreement here. We've got 3 years. We, adjusted pay, which is not unusual. I think that's a foregone conclusion when you do a contract. We were able to change many things this year in language, a lot of things that, both sides were looking to do. So obviously with any negotiations, there's give and take, and I think it was painful for both sides, which reflects well on the negotiations, because that means each side had to give to get to where we got to. So I appreciate it. And I also want to thank the voters for their support for the contract. So thank you.
We appreciate it as well. The process is long and it's hard, but we know that we came out with a great contract. We thank the voters for all their hard work. And I especially want to thank the REA for all their hard work, because above and beyond the negotiating, there's the signs and the t-shirts and the fixing the signs and the getting the teacher minutes out. All of that stuff has to happen from somewhere, and it's part of all of our REA. Working together to get our names out there and to make it positive. And thank the school board and town for helping us out. We are looking forward to 3 years of no negotiating. So thank you.
Yeah. Is that it for that? What do you say, no?
How you going? Good.
All right. Up next, Mr. Vogel, CIP committee.
There, Randy.
Lost our whole crowd.
I know.
This one, they leave smiling.
Chair, school board, congratulations to those newly elected. I second what happened to REA is good for them. My name is Doug Vogel. I'm a resident here of Raymond, and I'm coming in front of you as the CIP committee chair currently. We have not met yet. One of the responsibilities of the CIP committee is to advise and help the 2 governing boards. And I want to first acknowledge that Steve and Joe did get information that they are assigned to the CIP committee next year, as they were last year. So that's appreciated to keep that longevity going. So I'm coming in front of you, and we're not in quorum by any means for the CIP committee. This is just listening to you on what we can do to assist you as a Raymond school board. There was a couple comments. I'm here to listen right now. What can we do to help?
Anyone got anything, Joe?
I'll bring it up at the meeting anyhow for this year. I think we need to get into the buildings this year and look at, especially the elementary school, because that's one of the buildings we're definitely looking at over the next year and a half.
So new buildings, okay. I know there's a Lamprey River Elementary potential proposal years down the road, right?
Yep.
Do you have a capital reserve fund set up for at least the administration, engineering, design, maybe, because you're never going to fund all of that in a CRF in a couple of years.
That was looked at years ago. I don't think it's in a separate, we don't have a separate fund for that one, but it was looked at.
Do you think that this board could use the current CRF for maintaining, improving, to use that? Or does it have to be a separate one?
I think the improvement one would be, it definitely would be an improvement.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're just as FYI, we're out for right now bids for architect. Things have changed since the last time we've gone to a new building. And the requirements are much more, I don't know if restrictive is the word, much more specificity is probably the word looking for on what we're required to provide to state to get state funding. We can do anything we want with our own without asking for state. But with funds comes usually strengths, and So it's much more restrictive now. So once we get those quotes back, hopefully multiple quotes, we'll have to decide where those funds are coming from. And part of that discussion will be whether it's the operating budget or CRF.
Right, and as you well know, as I know, CIP committee has nothing to do with what you expend.
No, I understand. I just
It's
want to
purely-
give you a full picture.
What do you need to save for? So I'm asking, it may be wise for you guys to start up your own CRF for those administrative. You don't know yet until you get the bid back. As Mr. Harmon said, I don't know, but that's one thing I knew I threw out. But it may be late to the race. But you mentioned something else, Joe. What was, you said new building, but there was something else I didn't catch.
Now I forget what I said.
I think you were just talking about how,
Yeah, I think we just getting all the buildings just to take a look at, you know.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I have the detailed plan, so thank you very much. It was dated October of last year, so that's your most recent one that, from my knowledge, I received from the school district. So what else can we help you with? I mean, because otherwise, the CIP committee is going to meet throughout the summer and the fall, and without knowing what you want, we can't help.
Yeah, this year, hopefully you'll, the CIP committee, and I know it's a number of years, I was on the committee a number of years ago, and we never discussed the actual proposed town and or school, and I know it's happened a few years in a row. So I would ask that you actually look at it and make recommendation, vote on a recommendation.
To evaluate your current plan.
Just like just like the CIP committee is supposed to do, it just hasn't done it the last few years.
There's several needs assessments and all that stuff available, right?
Right, but what they do is we will put forth a CIP 20 years out. And the last few years, there hasn't been a vote by the CIP committee. Historically, the CIP committee will recommend or not recommend the CIP's proposal from the town and the school. And it just hasn't been done for numerous reasons.
3 years, it has not happened.
I couldn't remember, so I said a number.
Yeah, I know it's for 3 because the CIP was dysfunctional for 2. And last year was a restart. But the CIP committee has nothing to do with expenditures of funds.
It's
So
as
it's
you mentioned,
purely a recommendation on what you should save.
yeah, and it's,
Say
as you
four.
mentioned, it's
Right.
purely
And we all know that you're.
recommendation advisory. And it's advisory, so we understand that.
So now, since I'm not here much, I'm gonna bring something up that came out over the last 3 or 4 months. Is impact fees. Once again, the CIP committee does not control impact fees. However, they could provide a recommendation, build a recommendation to enhance the impact fees for the Raymond School District such that you maximize that benefit to the town. I know I'm gonna make the same thing to the selectmen.
Yeah, Terry and I met with Jim McLeod, as you know, the town planner, regarding school impact fees. And it was his opinion that, and it was ours after having the conversation, that we will not, after we pay our last bond payment for the middle school, we won't have any ability to collect, the town won't have an ability to collect on the behalf of the school because it's more about brick and mortar than it is about,
Capital improvements. It has to be for capacity and not capital improvements.
improving the roof isn't something, or a new roof wouldn't be something that we could collect a school impact or an impact fee from the town. That's the way we had the conversation with Mr. McLeod, and that's the way he explained it, not in those terms, but that and just
Followed up with our attorney and they explained it.
concurred. Yep.
Right, well, and I understand that, but so RSA 674:21 and snapshots of very other impact fees from other towns in our surrounding area always have schools there. Okay, and they're not all building, they're all saving, especially if you know you have a new potential building proposal coming up. there would be a huge, because it's just going to an impact to a CRF that you expend for. There's ones in here for what would be in our town, Riverside Park. There's an impact fee for recreation. And that money goes to sustain, quote, this other town's park, and here would be Riverside Park. Okay, so yes, you can collect.
We have to expect, and I don't know off the top of my head.
6 years.
6 years.
Six
That's
years.
right.
So you collect it, it sits there. If you don't do the improvement of your brick and mortar within 6 years, you give that 1,000 back, but you're still collecting. And some of them, most of them are anywhere between $4,000 up to $11,000 per single family home in the general area around Raymond. All right. So you can collect that for a single family or even other products. You're really, it's hard, you're hard pushed as a school to collect for office, because an office being put in doesn't impact you.
Correct.
But a single family, a detached townhouse, ADUs. If ADUs are big, some towns have ADUs impact fees. So I'm wondering if to assist, I'm throwing this out. Otherwise, the CIP is going to sit there and do what we can. I'm throwing it out there.
One of the issues that I have, and it's just from my perspective, not the board's necessarily, is that 6 years is a problem because we can't, if hypothetically the plan is to go out and get a bond and for a elementary school in 4 years, just hypothetical, that's within the 6 year window. However, it doesn't mean we're going to have state aid that year. And it doesn't mean we'd have it the next year either, because there's a different way they do funding. There's a prioritized list. Not everybody that puts their name in the hat gets money. So we wouldn't necessarily can guarantee that in 6 years from today that we are going to be going to the vote and hopefully pass it. So the concern is, because the town had to do this, and it was, I get my understanding, rather cumbersome and difficult to go back and give that money back. So from my perspective, myself, I'd be reluctant to go immediately and ask for an impact fee until we're more sure of the timeline for our bond request.
I guess I'm misunderstanding, but if you don't want help, I'll step out. Okay, but I don't understand how, when you're making capital improvements to 3 significant buildings, why you can't use an impact fee to it. Right now, you're putting in nearly a $5 million improvement to the school district. Impact fees could help put that improvement in. So that's my call. I'm trying to help.
I think because I've talked, that impact fee has to specifically go to an expansion in the building that, well, that's what we've been told.
I guess, well,
No, go ahead.
I guess you and I need to sit down and where you're getting it so I can run it by my lawyer. Because that's who's advising us that, because I've asked 3 times.
Right. Mr. McLeod,
Other towns.
Mr. McLeod said the same thing and our attorney gave us the same advice. And we're not saying we don't want help. All we're saying is we're trying to abide by the rules that we're being told.
Good.
So
I'm
if the rules change, obviously,
interpretation of rules. The rules haven't changed.
okay,
Interpretation of rules.
whatever way you want to term it, but if that changes, then I'm very much for having impact fees because each child either a building or whatever that comes in impacts us, then we want to be able to recoup some of that impact. But again, we're just going by the description.
And if you've done the research, I'd appreciate it. You give it to me so I can go to them and say, hey, how are they doing this? Does that make sense?
Right, so I will, sir.
Yeah.
And it's just, the other towns are collecting them, they're holding them. And then if they don't use them for improvements of capital, they give the money back. So there is a lot of finances. I do agree financially, There is, you gotta track every dollar in. You're required to do an annual report that says I took in this money in 5 years ago. I spent it on here, so it's FIFO, first in, first out money, and you're always just rotating. So yeah, it's a whole financial tracking, no questions asked.
I think, well, I mean, I'm almost positive this is one of our lawyers got it from, is that Salem was collecting impact fees. They were using the impact fees on what you were saying, different projects and stuff like that. They actually had to give more money back because they weren't expanding they finally did afterwards. They decided to take the portals down, build a new section of the high school and stuff like that. But they didn't do that for 7 years. After that 7 years, they owed millions of dollars back. Because they used it on what they considered projects that would impact the town, but that's not the way the state looked at it. It's so both sides of this.
Well, thank you for allowing me to come in front of you.
Anytime.
And I will be going in front of the planning board, the budget committee, or in front of budget committee next Tuesday, and selectmen I'm still trying to figure out.
Can you shoot me that stuff, Doug?
I will, sir.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Doug.
All right, where are we? About 5 more minutes for public comment. Behavioral health update.
Damn, I didn't run the cord. Go ahead. Jeez. I haven't seen. Yeah, it was my fault. I'm accustomed to that.
Liar.
He's gonna work on his posture.
He made you move.
Get your hand up. Big man always had the hand up.
He didn't hit you in the numbers.
Sorry.
This happened last time.
Is anyone good at tech?
I think Steve helped last time.
Good changes. Put the tech guy on the side of his name tag.
There it is.
Basically, it's.
Oh, it's extended, not copied.
Lost trying to click over here.
You should be able to choose the arrow.
Oh, that's true. Good. Okay. All right. Hi, thanks for having me tonight. I'm Sam Horgan, Director of Health and Wellness. Today I'm going to do some updates, talk a little bit about MTSS as a framework, talk about some grants supporting our work right now, intervention spotlights, and then some success stories. This is weird because normally I can see my thing here, so bear with me. I'm flexible. So some updates. So as you know, and I've talked about this before, but we have Beth, welcome Beth. So I want to make sure I'm touching on things for her and for others in the community. So I lead a district behavioral health advisory team that really focuses on social emotional wellness across the district, MTSSB implementation. So we have these 2 top goals that we've been working on as a team this year, and that includes implementation of Tier 1 restorative practices and development of protocols for students in crisis or further development, I should say. So the first goal, we've really been talking about how do we get more people trained? When do we do the training? What's our funding stream for training? And how do we build staff and trust for this type of training? So I have a subcommittee right now working on a communication plan for restorative practice work. And so when we meet next week as a behavioral health advisory team, we'll be looking at that plan and talking about it, essentially to keep building some momentum with this work that we're trying to do. And then our second goal around crises, we as a team and with our behavioral health department finally kind of define what a behavioral health crisis is. So we what is that data we're collecting? What is the scope of the work when we talk about improving our crisis protocols? So we've been kind of reviewing our protocols, policies, and I have a subcommittee working on identifying the gaps and what are our priorities to advance our crisis intervention. And then we're always doing other work, right? So we have those top goals and we have a lot of other things that we're working on. So I just highlighted a few things here. Trying to stay ahead of the field right now and understanding trauma-informed practices, restorative practices, where do they
intersect, overlap. Essentially, how do we meet kids where they're at with what they come into school with, right? Improving our database decision-making for services. And then this time of the year, I typically ask the schools to inventory all of their tier 1 through 3 practices to ensure that they are getting the funding, the PD, the resource support from the district, for me to know what grants to look for to support their work, in order to continue to support their implementation or grow in their implementation of all these different services that they do. Yeah, I say feel free to stop me.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. You talk about in goal 1, subcommittee developing communication plan to increase knowledge, interest. What is that specifically? What are you trying to communicate specifically?
What we're doing, what restorative
And what-
process is, what it means, what we're doing, what training opportunities there are. But that was a little bit of the work of the subcommittee to think about that exactly. What do we even need to communicate in school? So I don't know the answers yet. I'll be learning that next week, kind of what their ideas are.
Thank you.
All right, some other updates. We completed National Alliance Mental Illness Suicide Prevention Training for all staff this year. We're required 2 hours each year to provide suicide prevention training for staff. So we're able to do that with internal suicide prevention trainers. So that was good. A big lift this year, but an exciting lift. Our BCBs have provided quite a bit of training for our SEL teams on behavior management, behavior intervention plans. And then during the March PD day, because a lot of the teachers were working on academic curriculum stuff, the behavioral health department was kind of meeting in their own discipline to work on kind of vertical programming and alignment. So like my social workers work together, my nurses work together, working on different projects with the department. It's been really neat too for me to see and support our schools and doing some staff restorative practice circles, and also some other MTSSB training. So been a part of it as well. I continue to figure out how to increase our suicide prevention education for our students. It's obviously a policy, a plan that we have, but also we know that we have a lot of people struggling with suicidal ideation across the district. Quite honestly, we have kids in elementary school right now that are struggling with this. So this year we brought in evidence-based program to the middle school called Signs of Suicide. It's being rolled out through our school counselors for 6th through 8th grade, and we've gotten some good feedback and engagement from students around this of like what to look for in themselves or peers or what to do if they're worried about someone. And in the high school, we're going to work with the National Alliance Mental Illness to train some students to be student leaders in suicide prevention and train other students. This is something that the kids have been asking about, more mental health education, more suicide prevention education. And so I'm excited to keep pushing that a little bit. Spoke to this a little bit before, but we've had quite a few SEL program meetings as well, continuing to build those programs, ensuring that we have the data collection systems in place. Already talking about transitioning, our 3rd grade kiddos that are in the SEL program to the middle school and the middle school to the high to ensure that there's some vertical alignment that those kids will get the support they need at the next level. And then I continue to support the SIT and the Tier 1 team, so the assistant principals, because we know when we run a big framework and big systems that we need to continue to refine and move and adjust based on what we're focusing on in our schools. And then grant management, I'm going to focus in a little bit on the last 3 grants later in this presentation, but that's another big part of my role. So supporting students with behavioral health challenges. So I lay this context first because I know over the last few months, there's been a lot of conversation around behaviors, behavioral health, fights, vaping, all these behavioral topics, right? And I just wanted to bring us back to this framework that we've been using as a district for the last handful of years. Not to say we have it all figured out and solved, right? But just to show that this is the framework that we're working within to catch these kids and to provide these kids with interventions and supports. So I know I've gone over this before, but again, very high level, quick review. When we look at an MTSSB framework, the academics are on the left side, the behavior is on the right side. But essentially, we want to be providing some type of behavioral, social emotional support to all students at that Tier 1 level, which is 100% of kids are getting some dosing of kind of intervention related to positive behaviors, positive wellness, right? And then kids that need a little bit more support are going to bubble up and need Tier 2. And then even more to Tier 3 services. So Tier 2 is more short-term group. Tier 3 is more intensive wraparound, possibly referrals into the community.
So I really like this visual. It just explains it a little bit differently. And so how MTSSB works, right? And again, a framework is like it's a big project constantly. It's evolving and moving. There's a lot of pieces to it, but how it works on the ground is that we have tier 1 teams that consist of administrators, teachers, counselors that are really looking at whole school data. So behavior, attendance, course failures, to figure out what do they need to focus in on, right? So they're going to look at data, they're going to make a decision and try something. It might be something they've done in the past that has worked well, it might be something completely new. So an example of this, at the middle school, they identified disrespect as one of their top behavioral challenges. And so the tier 1 team has developed some kind of lessons related to respect and relationships with others that they're rolling out through the morning meetings as an example. They're trying it, right? So now they're going to look at the data and see, is it working? Is it helping? So those tier 1 teams are constantly trying to think about what are we doing? What do we need to do? And try different things for the whole school. And then the kids that continue to bubble up, that those tier 1 interventions don't work, this is where they go to the student intervention team. So based on data, again, attendance, discipline, grades, or teacher requests for assistance, like I'm trying all the things, but I need some more help. Those kids are brought to the student intervention team. The assistant principals run those meetings. So there's administrators there, there's school counselors, a social worker, BCBA perhaps, behavior coach, academic interventionist, speech, OT, special ed. Anyone and everyone is brought together based on the student that is on the agenda for that week. And they usually go through 3 to 5 kids in a week, roughly. And so the AP figures out, okay, based on this kid and what they're coming to the team for, I'm going to invite all these people, these specialists, right? So the specialists are all at the table to then match the students with the right supports. That may be tier 2, maybe tier 3, it might be referrals elsewhere, or all of it, right? And once that connection is made and the team makes the decisions, then the student intervention team is monitoring progress, right? And so that monitoring of progress can happen. Oh, do you want me to stop? Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay.
I was just waiting.
Okay, I know.
Oh, sorry.
Are we you want to just, finish this slide and then.
Thank you. So once they're matched with a service, then the student intervention team, it's their responsibility, and they have a rolling agenda, a rolling list of kids that they're working with, reviews that student with the family student, possibly, we kind of say 6 weeks. For some kids, they're reviewing them sooner, depending on how things are going. If they're not going well, they're going to come and see them possibly a little bit later, but 6 weeks is kind of a sweet spot. But the kids that are getting the tier 3 services, which is more intensive, more wraparound, more people involved, more service providers, there's probably a smaller set of people that are meeting even every other week to look at progress and adjust and flex, right? So depending on kind of the supports that are put into place, that tells us the frequency of how often we need to monitor progress to see if it's working. And obviously, if it's not working, we're shifting, we're adding, we're taking away. If it is working, great, right? So that student intervention team kind of houses the plans for students to support their progress.
Yeah. So how do they just ask, like, do they ask the teacher? Where do they go to? Like, what's the process for the student to ask for these help, for these, like?
Yeah, so for students specifically. So that's a good question. This framework is kind of set up for staff to acknowledge and catch data and to match kids with more support. But if a student is like, hey, I need more help, I always say to people, start with your counselors, right? Because counselors also know all those other supports and services in the building. The counselors are part of the student intervention team, right? So they know whether or not this kid needs more than what I can provide as a counselor or what I can do. They're going to bring it to this team to talk about what other ideas do we have to support this kid. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know I've brought some of this information before as well, but again, presenting it in kind of a different way. So we have all sorts of tier 2 and tier 3 supports. Even when I was doing this, I'm like, oh, and this, and this, and this. And my point is, right, part of my role district-wide is to like figure out where the gaps are, what other services, supports we need to bring in related to behavioral health, and look for grants to support that implementation, right? Last time I came, I talked about the Renew intervention that's supported by a grant. So I'll be talking about one a little bit later, Brief 7 challenges supported by a grant. So I did star the ones that are supported by a grant this year, just so you can get a sense of like when we build our kind of toolbox of supports, that does require more resources, more grants, more funding and time and implementation support. But, so when a kid, is brought to the student intervention team, depending on why they're brought, what their data is, what we know about that student, right? Maybe they're struggling with some home stressors, maybe they're struggling to engage with peers, maybe they have some trauma, so they're having a hard time connecting with adults in the building. We look at kind of the why and really figure out based on that why and what's happening for that kid, what do we want to match them up with? It could be one of these things. It could be a lot of these things, right? We try to start at the tier 2 level first and we bump up to tier 3 depending on how they're doing. So like an example, at the elementary school, if we have a kid who is running around the building, running outside, physical aggression, really dysregulated, guarantee we've probably tried some of these tier 2, it hasn't worked. Now we're in the tier 3 level. Maybe we've already done a referral, they're connected to the SEL program. We have a BCBA involved doing a functional behavior assessment, behavior intervention plan. Maybe we've already referred them to Sequence Mental Health, right? Depending on their level of need, we're going to kind of pick and choose what their menu is. A kid at the middle school who's disrespectful, defiant, because we have some of those kids too, right? Teenagers, to your point earlier. We might bring in the behavior coach to do some observation and do a contract with that student about what they can agree to or what's going to support them. Or maybe we have an admin family meeting, right? A kid at the high school or the middle school that are struggling with vaping, because I know that's a topic that's come up quite a bit recently as well. We might connect them to a student assistance program counselor. We might look at, well, we need to check in, check out beginning of the day because they're struggling with something at home. We want to make sure they can let that, off their chest in the morning and let it go in the afternoon. And then if we need to give them out of school suspension because they haven't met our expectations around devices in the school environment, right? Maybe we refer them to the upper room, which is a resource in Derry that provides a space for kids who are suspended to work on their academics and get access to some therapeutic or other resources to support them. So even if we have to give people suspensions, we want to still figure out what are the interventions that we're doing to support them while they're suspended. So we're excited to partner with the upper room so far and some of our kids in the high school. And just to mention another resource that we're looking into, because again, I'm always trying to look and think about things a little bit differently. There's another program in Seabrook called Sequence Youth Services that provides alternative to suspension therapeutic program. If kids get suspended, they can go there and get support during the day versus be at home, video games, whatever else they're going to do while they're at home when they're suspended. So again, it's a menu, and that's how we treat it, right? As a menu, is thinking about what does that individual kid need and kind of matching them to supports.
You have a question?
I did, and I think it's in this zone, if you will, and just to go to a couple of the comments that were made earlier. So we know right now we've had some incidences of kids fighting and some aggression. And I think everything you have here is awesome, but it seems like that's sort of either right before a real intense situation or maybe right after. Do we have some good supports in place for, I know we have a lot of limitations, but like, I'm saying this as much for just a general question, but I want folks to understand too. What do we have in place for supports for during the moment or those like right in the minute that something's happening that the kids can get support? In the middle of a fight, for lack of a better way to put it.
I don't know if I'm the right person
So
in the building.
if anyone's made aware at the middle school, elementary, or even high school, we bring the students in, we meet with them, we work with them. Well, not me, but they are worked with. Like I said, at the high school, sometimes we change schedules. We move kids around. There's a little more flexibility here at the high school than there is at the middle school or elementary school, but they do meet with kids. And I would say, if we can get out in front of it, we're usually successful. But it's one of those things, I think at the high school level, they're more willing to share that something's going on because they've gotten older and they know the consequences. Where at the middle school, their hormones rage a little more and they tend to fight a little quicker than they would, again, and even the little guys are even worse. Man, they just want to go. So again, as the children mature, we're able to get out in front of it. So again, it's that growth mindset too. As a kid gets older, we are able to do more to stop it. We're not 100% successful though.
Of course.
Yeah,
I know there's a lot of concern.
Sorry,
That's okay.
One other thing too is that, even what happened the other day, I just was here and we met with that child, both of them, and said, what could we have done differently to stop this situation? And they had the right answers. Now it's just for them to apply it. It wasn't like they told us to I should have done this, I should have done this, I should have done this. And so they knew the right answers, but, you know, sometimes, you know, it gets the best of them.
Yeah, no, and thank you. Like I said, I know there's a lot of concern. I thought it was important to kind of put it out in the public that, because a lot of folks are nervous. I actually heard from a parent earlier that they're concerned with sending their middle schooler to the high school. So to let folks know that there are things that we're doing, that people are aware that they're there. I know we've talked about resource officers, but, you know, I just want folks to know that we're aware of this stuff and we're working on it and we're working with the kids. And to your point, they knew that there were other options, and now that maybe next time there won't be a fight, they'll have a conversation.
Just want to comment real quick. All this talk about fighting and people being scared of sending their kids. For the most part, the individuals fighting are what the law would consider willing combatants, right? People aren't just being attacked randomly in the hall. There's no fear for people, unless they're going out and picking fights. There's no fear for them that, yeah.
To somebody else below.
It's not an issue that people need to be afraid to send their kids unless their kids are going and picking fights. Kids that are bigger than them.
Yep.
Right. No, great.
Or picking fights at all. But I want to get that clear that these are individuals that are willing
They're squaring
combatants fighting each other, not people. Yeah, no. Okay. Joe.
I just want to, I think people lose sight, they say back in the day, I think everything was all, you know, roses back then. When I grew up in a town about, again, I'll explain this one again, about the same size as Raymond at the time, and we still had fights at high school and middle school. I mean, it's just what happens. I mean, and like Terry said, people aren't just going up and randomly whacking people in the hallways. But they do happen. It's just our response is, you know, what we can, I mean, back in my day, the consequences were a little more harsh in school and out of school, but that's not any, you know, issue with the schools itself. That's just what the state requires, tells us we have to do now. And, you know, people may be, you know, different at home now than what they were 30 years ago. So
One of the tasks that I had to do was go back and unseal minutes that have been sealed for years. The number of kids that were expelled for fighting, for smoking.
Oh, goodness.
Done. We can't do that anymore. Right. It's just a different set of rules, because quite honestly, I'll be honest with you, probably schools were abusing that too, a little bit too. It just said, you're out. And then so kids were out at 15 and 16 with no place to go. Some of them probably deserved it, maybe, but you know.
I have a question. If a student is suspended and you can use this upper room, how are they supposed to get to this upper room? Because it's in Derry.
I know, they don't offer transportation. We ask these questions, right? We thought about it ourselves, like what could we do to support families? It's obviously very voluntary for them to choose to do it. But yeah, they would rely on their own family resources. It's not something we're providing transportation for. So it's more of a resource, right? Like there's this great opportunity, your kid's suspended, great opportunity, they can go somewhere rather than be sitting home without parental supervision. Would you like to go? And we connect them, but it's up to them to want to do it. The Seacoast Youth Services program over in Seabrook, they do, if we were to contract with them, that one's not free. So if we were to contract with them in the future with a grant, they provide transportation. So these are kind of programs that are emerging as everyone's trying to tackle this topic of like what to do with kids, right?
I've got a question specifically about the slide and then I'll circle back. There are a number of bullets where there are asterisks.
Yes. Yep.
Is there significance for us or not?
Yeah.
For the grant fund.
Yeah, those are the grant, those are the ones being grant funded currently this year. Yeah.
Thank you. The other question is a loaded question.
Okay.
By that saying that. One of the things I've regretted since we did the budget is not advocating more for resources dedicated to behavioral health. So my question is, are we staffed appropriately in the behavioral health area?
This is a loaded question, you're right.
And
Not ominous at all.
Have a clear answer, Terry.
no, I don't. I just was moving my leg. That's just, yeah. But again, the reason I asked the question, in a few minutes, we're going to be discussing budget.
Yeah.
And if we're going to make adjustments,
now's the time to speak, because otherwise we have to wait a year. Right? So and what do we keep, and in my humble opinion, I've said this before, behavior health is the number one issue we have in this district. That's my opinion, not necessarily the board's. And if we should be doing a different program, if we should be paying for something or more staff. And I don't want to, and it's just something I think is important to have the conversation. And I've had the conversation a little bit with Terry about since that time of budget season between then and now about my concerns. And so, because one of the things Steve said was, you know, or you might have answered it in a way about staffing being out there. And my question is, in part, we need more of something. And what is that something? Whether it be staff or program or resources for something.
So my automatic answer is like, yes, yes, yes. need
Well,
more,
I
right?
understand.
Right. So I think that's where we've had a lot of conversations in administration about like what the priorities are, right, in terms of budgeting, but, yes, I think where my brain goes automatically is the elementary school, could use more behavior coaches or on in the moment support for those kids that are dysregulated. I think the BCBA there has a lot on her plate because of the needs of the students in that school. I think the other piece, which I'll get to later, the group 7 challenges, I think there's some smaller subset of kids, either with mental health or substance misuse challenges that need a little bit more treatment. And what I'm finding is that there's a lot of barriers for these kiddos getting treatment outside of school hours, right? So what can we bring into the school? But in terms of like budget for next year, it's hard for me to say this is the program, because I think we're still stepping into some of these newer programs to see if it's meeting the need and analyzing is it helping us, right? So I think where my brain goes is more in the elementary school behavior coaches.
Thank you.
I agree. As you know, there's days where I go down there.
Right, and that's one of
And
those-
I'm not complaining about it.
I
It's a
understand.
good way for me to stay in contact and know what's going on. I have no issues with it.
And that's one of the things that, for me, has brought it bigger in the sense that the amount of time you are spending there, and it's needed. But is that the best use of the superintendent's time? So
It's a very loaded question. I'm going so many directions.
I prefaced it,
Can I-
so I didn't want anybody,
Back to where Steve was before, because when you asked your question, I didn't know how you were asking it, and now I think I understand a little bit too. So to jump off of where Terry was for kids that are struggling, like getting into fights. There are so many of the positions in behavioral health are like trying to swoop in before the fight or leading the conflict, maybe bubbling, like there's so much being done. Resources to like help these kids, and then when they engage in the fight, to Terry's point, like swooping in after, what are interventions, how can we help you? And so I want the community to hear that even if a kid, we can't kick them out forever, right? We are swooping in to provide them the support and intervention. So hopefully it is not happening again.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Sorry. More on the little kids down the LRES. Do you have any kind of a room that these kids, these kids are kind of wild coming out of from home into the school, that they can just like relax someplace in a room, listen to, put on some kind of music that this is gonna mellow them out?
So that, to my point, it's not so much the people too, it's space.
Yeah.
It is space, because quite honestly, when we have an elementary kid who is raging, and then we have the other kids doing that they're supposed to do and earning their breaks, and they have no place to go, because that room right now is occupied by that individual who is, so now we're scrambling to try to find that place for a kid to take a break. Sometimes it's in the office, sometimes, but it's not an appropriate place for that kid to be honest with you, earn their break, pop on an iPad for 5 minutes in a beanbag because they did what was expected. So part of that issue too is the space down there at the elementary. We are constantly trying to figure, the space issue out. And so, the littler they are, the bigger the is. And the older they get, when it goes, it goes. Don't get me wrong. But it's fewer and far between. Whereas it's almost every day or, every other day or once a week where somebody down there, they're dysregulated and we can get them back. But what, in that hour and a half or 2 hours, that room is closed. Because we're trying to get that student back to where they need to be.
Like, well, when they first hit the school, when they first.
Oh, yeah, we have check-ins, we have walkthroughs, we have people meeting with them every morning. They have a check-in before they even
They just
get
need to
to
go
class.
to a room and check in and have some music or something. They can sit down and unwind from whatever has happened at home or whatever they're stressed
Yep.
about. Maybe it would help maybe ward off some of the later on.
Definitely, and I appreciate that creative idea, and I think that is part of having behavior plans specific for each kid is one kid might need that music and that quiet, one kid might need to vent to the social worker one. So they're all different in
Yeah.
what they need, which also makes it challenging, right? Because you can't just put them all in a room to listen to music and a beanbag because they all need something different, which then goes back to like the resources, the staff, and the space. So it's complicated, yeah. And the teams are working really hard to figure out what are the individual needs for those kids.
Federal government has kind of pulled back some grants lately. But they're not pulled them back. And then,
Cut them out.
I know where, tier 1 type school and elementary school and middle school. How could that affect our budget? Well, I should say our revenue. It's not gonna affect the budget, but the revenue.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many mental health grants they'll be putting out there now, right? Like, I don't know if that's a priority for the federal government, for the state government to put social, emotional, mental health. So that could impact our ability to do some of these creative interventions and ideas. In terms of the title funds, what they've communicated is that they think it will be flat funding. Title I or Title II, but we don't know yet. We haven't gotten
Yeah,
a solid allocation.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what grant is the SAP counselors under?
It's completely separate. I haven't heard that that one would be impacted, but
Yeah, I don't, yeah.
they have communicated to me in an email that we will still be able to support our SAP counselor positions. We haven't got 100% confirmation. We haven't got the contract or anything, but
You can always support them. It's about who's supporting them,
Well, yeah,
yeah. But there is a lot of unknown. Yeah. All right. So, as part of this, when I was thinking about our framework, right, and kids that are struggling with behaviors, I was like, I want to do my own internal audit just so I know from an MTSSP implementation perspective, how are we doing? Are we catching the kids that are at the top, that are ISS, OSS, that are office discipline referrals, like that top amount of kids, right? And what I found in this audit, number one, is it's a tiny amount of kids that are like the top of office discipline referrals, top of ISS, OSS, 3%, around 3% of the entire population. So that was number one, what I found. Number two, what I found, and I liked this, is that the majority of these kids were monitored by teams. So that means that they are already on the radar of SIT, of IEP 504, of any SEL program perhaps. So to me, from a framework perspective, I'm like, okay, good, we're catching the kids, right? Like we know that those kids need the support. And the other good thing that I found was that all of the kids were connected to multiple tier 2 and or tier 3 supports. And I say this is good, right? You might think of it as, well, it's not working, right? But I say it's good too, because kids that are struggling with externalizing behavioral challenges, meaning you're seeing the behaviors, they're big, they're out there, versus like internalizing, suicide, depression, anxiety. The kids that are showing those big behaviors, yeah, it's so important that we hold those expectations, hold them accountable. We also need to provide the intervention support so it doesn't happen again, right? So for me to see that these kids have teams, that there's interventions in place, I was like, yes, we're doing something right. That felt really good for me. And then I started to dive into, each individual kid. I was going and looking at data, last year, this year, I started to do that. And I was like, this is going to take me a long time. And number two, I have teams that are already doing that, right? That are looking at data and monitoring progress. But number three, to my next slide, and I'm happy to go back, but I wanted to connect these. Number three, these are kids and progress is not going to be linear, right? And so understanding that no matter how many supports, interventions, out of school suspension, in school, whatever way we try to intervene with students, they're going to take steps sideways and backwards, which is so frustrating and exhausting. But I truly feel like it's the responsibility of all of our educators, all of our behavioral staff and our community, right, to take this approach of like, we are planting seeds, whatever way you want to look at it. We're watering the soil, we're nourishing the students. So regardless of what mistakes they make or whatever happens, they step backwards, sideways. Our job is to plant the seeds and do the best we can when they're here with us. And so whatever we can do to add an intervention or to create that trusted adult relationship, that is huge. And we might see the progress never. We might hear about the progress when they're 40 and they come back. But they're all on different timelines. So it's important that we keep that perspective in mind, especially with kids that have behavioral health challenges, substance use challenges, mental health challenges.
If you could, it doesn't matter. My question is, do you have visibility daily, weekly, whatever it might be, of discipline referrals that the administration of the 3 schools are handling?
I have access, but do I look at it every day, every moment? No.
Well, I would hope not. I just didn't know what type of visibility you can access as needed.
Yes, yeah, and I'm the district Swiss facilitator.
Yep.
And I'm a trainer of Swiss, so that was.
Thank you.
All right, so to switch gears, so just again, I want to highlight a couple of grants that are supporting pieces of this work. This is a small grant we received beginning of this year that we applied for that's supporting our high school renew intervention, which I spoke to in my January presentation. Promising Futures grant. Also, we got in the fall, we have around 17,000 that we've been using to expand some of our activities related to MTSSB, prevention. I want to highlight a couple of things here. Just hot off the press today, the approval from Carrie. We do have a information night coming in May. Grab one. We have a clinical psychologist coming, who's well known in New Hampshire to talk about trauma, brain, stress, how to calm ourselves and calm our children. Information for families. So there will be a dinner provided by our parent groups, a presentation that includes childcare as well, a whole bunch of resources. So we will be pushing this out this week in all of our avenues to invite families to come to this presentation.
Could you plug it now, please?
Yeah, so.
We've got
I know.
hundreds of thousands of people probably listening.
Yeah,
Some people too,
what'd you say?
and some people too.
Yeah, she is amazing. She will essentially provide parents with the way that the brain works, how stress works in the brain for kids, for ourselves, and then how we can intervene when our kids or ourselves are stressed, so that way we can maintain calm with our kids, which I think is something we all need to continue to work on, right? So it will just be, it's supposed to be like an hour presentation, but then there'll be 30 minutes for Q&A, time to spend with her. But she provides a lot of training to families, schools, also does her own practice as well.
And it's May 6th.
May 6th, sorry, yes.
Middle
May
school.
6th at the middle school.
At 6
at
to
6 o'clock
7:30.
To 7:30, but there will be dinner at 5 o'clock. So we want anyone and everyone to come, parents, caregivers, community members to join us at the middle school.
And I assume these will be put in the principals
Yes.
Friday?
Yep, yeah, it will go out in the principals, will go out in the coalition newsletter, I'll bring it to a coalition, the coalition meeting, so, library can put it up and hopefully get as many families as we can.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's right after vacation, so hopefully we can push it hard now, so please share with families.
I believe, was she at the Rainbow Coalition for Youth a couple of years ago?
She probably was. She's come in before my time, but she has also come into the district to do training previously before my time. Yeah. You have positive memories?
Oh, she was very good. It was very interesting. I also.
Don't ask a question you don't want the answer to, there, Sam.
And then I'll talk about the brief 7 challenges intervention and a couple of slides that's supported by this grant. And then this is a big grant we get, that we've gotten every year, for the past handful of years that supports our, student assistance program counselors at the middle school and the high school and a whole bunch of other kind of, substance use prevention events and activities in the middle and high as well. And it also has supported them. So some intervention spotlights, and my hope here each time I come to the board is to spotlight a couple of different interventions, as I've been trying to do the last couple of times, so that way you all in the community hears the different types of support services that we have in the school district. Because I can't do them all, right? I'll be here all night. I'm happy to, but I don't have that much time. So for today, I just decided to focus on a couple that our grants are paying for and related to some of the kind of vaping conversation that has come up a little bit. So our student assistance program counselors, and I know I've talked about them before, but their purpose is really to increase substance use mental health prevention. And so they do some prevention education in the 7th and 9th grade classrooms. They do group interventions, individual interventions. They work with the coalition on some of the larger kind of campaigns, events that we have like Pride Ribbon Week. They do a whole variety of interventions throughout the schools. How kids get to student assistance program counselors can be a variety of ways. A kid can go directly to the counselor and say, hey, I need some help. A peer can refer them, a teacher, a parent can call them and say, hey, my kid, or I know this kid that needs help. Administrators will refer if a kid is caught with substances, or they think a kid is at risk, they're going to try to make that connection. And so what happens is students, they will assess their kid, learn their strengths, areas for growth, what they want to work on, and then they're going to decide what to do based on that, right? It might be a connection to the school counselor. It might be a referral to a mental health. It might be they're going to put them in a group that they're already running. So depending on what that kid comes with, they're going to figure out how to intervene. And then they'll work with that kid. They'll monitor how they're doing, or go in and out of work with them, depending on what they need to work on. One thing I do want to highlight, and they're great if you know them, they're really great, they work really hard. But one thing I want to highlight is there's this myth around student assistance program counselors. They are not drug and alcohol counselors. They are not certified to provide drug and alcohol treatment. So I just want to make that clear. And I say that because on my next slide, because we do have some kids that need treatment. We have some kids that, you know, they're caught vaping, but actually they're vaping a lot, right? And they're just not getting caught a lot. We have, and again, this is small. I want you to hear it's small, right? And it happens in all schools, to your point earlier, Joe. But there are those kids. And so I'm always conscious of those kids that need a little bit higher amount of support. And so through the Promising Futures Grant, I'm partnering with Seacoast Mental Health Center to provide a little bit more of a targeted evidence-based intervention for those kids that are using, that are struggling with substance misuse. So it can be done in group or individual. It's just 4 sessions where essentially they're engaging in journaling and activities to reflect on what does substances mean in their life? Like what's their relationship with substances? How do they want it to look in the future? It's not saying don't use drugs, because we know that doesn't really work for a lot of kids, right? It's more like, what do you want from it? What is it doing for you to hopefully help them make some critical thinking or do some critical thinking about decisions they want for their future. So for some kids, this is a 3-point and they're like, oh, now I need more help, and hopefully they'll seek that help. And for some kids, this is a one and done. This is what they engage in. So we're excited about trying this intervention this year for this grant. All right, success stories. We decided to focus success stories also on kind of our student assistance program, just because that's what we're talking about for interventions. So one of our SAP counselors works with a group of students who have connected with her because they have someone at home who abuses substances. So to support a change in kind of their trajectory, she's doing a focused intervention with them on building their personal identity and self-esteem to hopefully prevent their usage in the future. The students told her recently that they like coming to her group because they feel safe. They can talk about anything without being judged, which is very important. Another part here is the SAP counselors also work hard to help students reflect on their substance misuse and consistently offer additional resources or outside treatment options for them. Though many of the students are ambivalent to change, right, and are reluctant to engage in any treatment outside of school, as I spoke to before. One student recently, though, has been working on and off with SAP for the last 2 years, and the SAP counselor has broached this discussion many times as behavioral health challenges continue for the student, right? But this has consistently been turned down by the student with no willingness to consider it. However, just recently, the student agreed to receive additional outside therapy. So these are just some examples of planting seeds, right? Like it might not work now, things might get worse, but we hope that it will work. And so even though for that particular kid, it took 2 years of the same conversation, they're now there and they're making that commitment. So that's huge.
I think we got them all out in earlier, huh?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Safety and facilities update. Mr. Ledoux.
So nothing as exciting as Sam had, but we'll try to get into it. So let's see, you guys, we had a busy winter, obviously, you all know that you live here. The new truck was great. Nice to have a truck with no issues finally, and get through the winter with no problems and no breakdowns was really nice. Some projects we have going on right now, we spent some time preparing the weight room at the high school, making a new weight room, create better storage space for PE and for I'm sure you guys have all seen the gym mats, just activity mats, the rest of the mats still in the hallways, want a better storage here, so those get them out of the hall where they shouldn't be. And we'll also end up with a better training room / weight room. We ended up with an IT to a smaller space, which worked out fine. And the other half is already the training room to reduce everything. New radios are finally out within the buildings. This took quite a long time. They're supposed to be in the beginning of the school year, which didn't happen. They are out. They're successfully being used everywhere. They're digital, so everyone seems pretty happy with them. We've had no issues to speak of, so that's always good with a new project. All right, now to the big stuff. The EEI project for the energy stuff, the lights are pretty much complete at the 2 schools, the high school and the middle school. The only thing really outstanding is next year, last year, which I'm sure you've all seen that project work out front. Reconduiting those poles to provide the front lighting, and they got to redo some lighting on the back of the high school to get better lighting by the gym. They did try something, but I wasn't really happy with it, so they're going to be changing those. The rest of the school is done. The middle school, like I said, is good. The teachers seem actually pretty pleased with the project, which is another very big feat for me. They all have different switches in the classroom, so kind of turning lights off or covering them now, they can use them whatever they feel necessary for the classroom, which used to work out good. Worked out better for me because I did not like the light covers of the dark classrooms. The solar field that you saw came to a pretty much a complete standstill over the winter time. There's some supply chain issues, yada, yada, yada. They're back on board. They're back out there. They have the transformer pad done. They work very, very close with Eversource to get them to release the transformer with one of the sticking points. The only thing they're waiting on now, the ground rods, which are not grounding rods, are the rods that hold the actual structures up, structures here. Those are still on schedule for April 14th, and everyone's chomping at the bit to get going. So as soon as they get here, they're supposed to be everyone on board, all hands on deck, you might say, try to get this project wrapped up by the end of our fiscal year this year. They're still saying that's the goal, and we should hopefully meet that. The biomass plant, nothing's happened with it yet, as far as you guys can see, but there's been a ton of work behind the scenes. We've laid out the room, which we've laid out where the cell is going to go. We've picked off the propane lines, where the lines can run, how we're going to do it all. That's all also supposed to start on April 14th. That's a little weather dependent, because once we pull the trigger on eliminating that boiler room, we pull the trigger on the for the high school. So I don't want to be the guy that has the whole high school in the state, so we're going to watch that very closely. We have been running the oil tank down as low as we possibly can, so we're fighting the fire there as well. But we'll get through it. That project should go pretty smooth. We've done a ton of pre-planning, a ton of layout, a ton of everything. So once it happens, it should happen. That will definitely have some more major impacts on the students and the staff of the building. As you know, it's going to happen inside the building as well as outside. A lot of it's taking place over April break. We'll remove the tank and put the propane tanks in, remove the oil tank. But there will be few months left of school here where there are contractors working in the school building. They will only have access to the boiler room, they won't have access to the students. The exterior will be fenced off and or coned off, gated off, however you may say it. We have a safety plan in place, with all the contractors to tell them our safety plan. They'll know how to work on the students and not communicate with them, so we feel pretty confident that it should work pretty smoothly, but just, it is what it is, we have to get it going so we can ensure it's done, ready to rock and roll next school year. I think that's it for the EEI project. As far as safety goes, we continue our response drills. Over the winter, as you know, we don't do fire evacuation drills, we do the 4 emergency response actions. The latest were the lockdown drills on site. We include those this month at each school. No real issues to speak of. Our big town school drill with the town first responders is at the elementary school this year. That'll be happening later this month as well. Parents will get the notification as usual. Looking for volunteers and safety officials. Typically, we get 1 or 2 of the school board to do that as well. And be a pretty good drill. It's the elementary school, so it's a lot more low key, more geared towards that level of students. So not as crash, boom, bang, not as hyped up, but it's still a very valuable drill. I've met with the staff actually today and at their last staff meeting to go over all the questions. So they can know Lancy, which is good. It's what we want. It's kind of the purpose of the drill. They start talking about it, start asking questions, so we know they're thinking about it. So everything on that is going as planned. All the first responders in town are once again on board and willing to work with us. So that's good for us and good for them as well. Other than that, we have some RFPs going out this spring, and we're just getting ready for summer planning and summer work.
Any questions? Where is the oil tank located? Is that going to disturb like parking lot or any of the paving? Is that going to be an issue?
Yes, so we have a 10,000 gallon oil tank located right outside of the boiler room. We know where that is. So you know where the dumpsters are?
Mhm.
They're right by the dumpsters. So what you'll see for the construction zone will be pretty much between the sawdust bin, you know, that by the gym, and the main entrance of the fence comes out to lose about a quarter of that parking about the gym.
But it won't affect the throughway around the school?
It will not affect the travel around the school. It will affect the parent
Yeah,
student
drop
drop off.
off is going to be an issue, right? Because that's half the parking lot there.
Yeah, that's gonna be cut short with signs coming. That's gonna kind of cut in by the gym doors. So it'll be a smaller loop. So maybe a little tight moment, mostly in the afternoon. The morning kind of trickles in a little easier. So we'll be watching that close the first few days to see if we're gonna make adjustments, but we have to give them a lay down area somewhere to work where they can form stuff. But we're hoping to get most of the front of the big stuff done April break when nobody's here.
If they take that tank with them, how do we have to get rid of it?
They pull it, has to get inspected by the state, all that stuff. And then go back to the whole propane tanks are going somewhere else, so it wouldn't be affected by that.
Yeah, just an FYI, just additional information.
Pete, the last 2 weeks, has put it out in the Friday memo, the diagram
Yeah.
about that.
So parents should be aware of it. It's kind of small diagram, but you can, if you take your glasses off like me and
Dive in, I can do it, but
at least
Blow it up.
there's a notice out there and it's coming.
Trying to be as least intrusive as possible, but we have to get this thing. going.
Yeah.
We, I don't know if this is gonna affect the students all that much because I don't really drive to school, but, like if we could get like an announcement or something when it's gonna be happening. Cause I feel like that would really help a lot of people, cause I'm only gonna be like reciting this to like site council and people that I know are really interested, but like, there's gonna be a bunch of people that I just won't be able to get to.
That's definitely part of the plan to let them know, because we are taking out some of the student parking. We have signs obviously saying no student appearance points, we'll let them know that's them. Yeah. Just be charging some students here. We were talking about possibly working with some high school students if they're particularly interested in this field, because we're gonna have a nice project going on here where they could get involved and kind of see it. Solondo's constantly reaching out to me, trying to get me to find contractors to work with, so today they're gonna be on site. It's maybe a great opportunity if we have someone interested in solar or someone interested in biomass plants or who knows.
Anyone else?
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
You got a bid?
Oh, did you want to stay for this?
I can't wait to stay.
It's either that or pile up.
Controversial. Let's get it going.
Waste Services RFP award.
We went out to bid for trash removal and recycling. This was not in the proposed, this is not in the default budget that was passed because it was something new that we have that we were not under contract at the time. We received one bid. And the proposal amount for trash is $14,217. The proposal for recycling is $18,770 for a total of $32,987.
This with the trash that we already had, it's about $9,000 less than what we anticipated.
Than what we anticipated, yeah.
You raised my ears when you said it's not in the default budget. Does that mean in addition to the 338, we also need to find 32,000, basically 33,000? Okay.
But because the difference between the actual budget and the default was 338,000, correct?
336.
So it depends which way you want to look at that. If you're going from the actual budget backwards.
But, yeah. All right.
I see what you're both saying. Yes.
It's all up. So we only got one bid.
Correct.
And I assume there was some sort of conversation prior to the bidding with you, Todd, is that? Is the expectations? Yeah.
The RFP was very detailed.
Okay, so there was no okay, all right. I'll make a motion that we accept the bid of Casella for $32,987 for the trash and recyclables. For next school year, right? Right.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
1-year contract too.
Yes.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
All right. Next. Vault budget 25-26.
So, as I mentioned, or as Margie just mentioned, there's a difference between the proposed and the default of $333,600. Good night, Ethan. Good night. So I'm assuming that we need to figure out, well, we're gonna come up with $333,600.
You know, before we start, I didn't have three, I said 38, but I actually have 336.
You guys just said so many amounts tonight. I've just been like, what is happening?
Because,
The difference is $336,945.
thank you.
You're welcome.
336,945.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page on that.
That does not include the 32,987.
Jocelyn?
Yeah. I'm thinking about this a little bit for the last
All right.
couple weeks. I have some suggestions.
Before we do that, can I hear from Terry on what his recommendations are?
My recommendation would be that we would move the curriculum books forward. That's $125,000.
What do you mean move forward?
Take the money out of this year's budget to pay for the books. Instead of paying for them next year, we buy them this year. We would remove one tech. That savings there is 36,000 approximately.
IT tech?
Yep. We have a retirement. This one is complicated, but a UA teacher at the middle school. That would be a savings of 57,000. And one administrative assistant. We have a retirement here too. within the district. So a retirement of the administrator, which is 71,000 ballpark. So that gets me to 290.
Thank you.
Now let the floodgates open. Here we go.
I'm thinking about this, I was looking at $152,800. That's the difference between the math curriculum that you're looking at buying right now, as well as the special education periodicals to buy right now.
Oh, you want to buy even more.
Cutting $9,000 off the trash, which we now know is going to be $9,000 less than what was in the original budget. Curriculum coordinator salary, we actually have it twice because it was inside the original budget, correct? The new curriculum that we were gonna buy. Not buying a person, but
The $125,000.
yes,
Yes, that's in the default.
that's in the default?
That-
How's that in the default?
It's not
Because it was there the year before.
Not the whole coordinator.
No, the
Not the coordinator.
coordinator, you're
Talking
talking,
about
you were talking about. I
No,
think,
the coordinator's in the regular budget, but not in the default.
I think Marjorie and I thought you were mentioning Kurt.
Books.
The books.
Oh, yeah, that, yeah.
Did you think that?
I thought he was talking about the person.
Okay.
Not the books.
Okay.
So if we go under the curriculum, the salaries, we already have salaries in place for the curriculum coordinator in there.
in the regular budget.
Well, we have it in two spots. We have what we've been paying this year for the curriculum coordinator, which is inside our tab, and then we have the actual curriculum coordinator, which we added into the budget.
But it's
So
not in the default.
I'm working my way backwards.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I'm working backwards.
Okay.
I like to keep what we had and then work, take some stuff off if we have to. So that is $31,721 that we had in there from what we were paying individuals this year that we wouldn't be paying much. $31,721, if I'm correct.
121 is the last
Wait,
three.
so what's that number from?
That's from our curricular coordinator's tab. From the salaries and benefits, social security that we're paying now, because we're paying a stipend now.
15,000.
And then a mentors program stipend, and then there's a couple stipends.
Oh, that's the money we're using for stipends that basically
Stipends,
is
coordinated
the curriculum coordinator. So that would take the 31 off the 125 is what you're saying.
Correct.
Yeah. He just,
The mentors are, for example, if I'm a new teacher.
Yeah.
We pay a current teacher $1,000 to mentor me because I need all the help I can get.
Correct.
So the mentor program is unrelated to, it wouldn't be the curriculum coordinator doing
It's
it.
15 grand that we have in there for a curriculum coordinator.
That's it, right?
That's
Yes.
I understand. Okay.
And retirement stuff, but it's pennies.
the 15's in now.
I know, John, but I know you're good. I'm looking for every penny I can get, right?
So I'll give you the 10 grand and we'll say it's 21,721 here.
How are you 21?
I don't,
It's only 15 for the,
I'm just saying what the final number is 31,721 and we'll just add the 10 grand back
Oh, because he is
and a couple $100.
retirement benefits.
I'll
Yep,
cover
that's
that.
where you 1,000.
I'll
Okay.
cover that after.
Pennies. They did add the 6 grand. All right. Is that right?
I don't know.
You lost me about
I don't
3
know
minutes
what
ago.
you guys are looking at.
That's right here. 30.
Pretty sure who's on first, what's on second, and I don't know.
so that everybody understands. If you could reference the lines, Joe, that you're taking from, so that we all understand.
Actually, not.
I didn't think to bring my
I
book.
didn't bring
I
my
have
book.
mine.
If Joe, he can
It's.
help me follow you, Joe.
Okay, if you look under, it's not a line because it's a total. I don't see a line. On the second page of the curriculum tab, in the back.
It's 1,
It
2,
says
3,
total
3.
Salaries and benefits, 31,721, but we added 10 grand back to 27. 21,721. See what I'm saying?
21,721.
Figure it out.
Okay.
So we'll be saving that because we won't be doing that part anymore if we have the curriculum coordinator.
Right.
So the 125 goes down to 104. I know, I'm just trying to make sure I'm following the math that you're doing.
The curriculum coordinator itself, the person that we would want to hire, is already in the original budget.
Correct.
Okay, but we had the other
But no-
stuff that was already in there for what we were paying last year or this year in there.
Right. That's what I'm trying to figure out, Joe. Where is that?
It's right here.
Curriculum tab on the back page. There's one page, it looks like.
Well,
One
there's two
page.
pages.
Well, yeah, 2 pages.
And what's the object?
Well, one physical. On the back side.
5,111,
5,111?
and then the stuff that goes along with it. Came to 31,721.
Right, but it's the object code 5,000 or 500,111 is 90,000 for the 25-26 budget. And that's all there is. And that's what we budgeted for the curriculum coordinator.
No, I had more than that.
I'm just going by what's there. On the actual line. Because I thought the 15 had been taken out. In the 25-26 budget.
Correct. Because we're gonna offer them a salary of 90. So that 15 would go away. So we were only increasing it by 75. Okay, I was, poor Beth.
I'm lost.
She wasn't here for budget season.
It's the line we're talking about is this line.
Okay,
And this line right here reflects 15,000, which is the current budget we're dealing with today. We
right.
have 15,000 and that was stipend broken out to 3 individuals in the district to help with curriculum. Going forward, we've got a salary amount for the coming year, starting July 1st, for $90,000 for the curriculum
Okay,
coordinator
coordinator,
position.
forget.
And we allocated that a number. What it ultimately will be, we haven't determined because we haven't hired the individual.
Right, okay, thanks.
The Godfather.
So just so my math is clean, we had 15 already allocated for the 3 folks who were doing the work part-time. We're gonna have one person who's doing it the
Full-time.
full-time for 90
Mhm.
or thereabouts. So that's where you came up with, we need 75.
No,
You know what? They're right. 'cause
Not really.
I didn't have that tab in here, the new tab. It's the only tab I think I missed it.
Okay.
Just I could have 140,000 for total salary with insurance minus 15. For 125,000, that should have been it.
just to clarify something for Steve, though. When
And I've done this a couple years, so don't
Yeah,
feel bad.
no, it's fine. What Marjorie was talking about was, right now, we have 15,000 currently
Right.
allocated for curriculum or curriculum coordinator duties, allocated to 3 individuals, 5,000 each. The $75,000 increase is the change from current school year to next school year. We need 90,000 for the curriculum coordinator. So we don't need to work, right now, it's in the budget, so we don't have to worry about changing it. For the default, it's a conversation we have to figure out because it's not in there. But the
Right,
way,
the 90 is not in the default, the 15's in the default.
correct. What Joe is suggesting is to go backwards from the current budget, which is to me, the easier way to go about this because the default, as we know, is it's a generic number because the budget committee didn't cut specific areas.
Right.
Well, Joe is looking to do that. Can I raise something? Yeah. The other thing that we haven't talked about that we need to also be aware of. When we set up the budget, we had put the superintendent's salary of $147,500. And that was in the budget that we had approved. So we just gotta be aware of that. If we're reducing, we're fine because it's in there. But if we're talking default and going the other direction, then we need to be aware of that too. So I think that's why I'm saying, and I think Joe agrees, going backwards is the easier way to go.
Yeah.
Just so that we just take away from what we choosing to reduce as opposed to trying to add back in. Because that's convoluted at best.
Much as I like to use pen and paper here, since I'm scribbling a lot, I'm gonna use my calculator.
While you're doing that, do you mind if I speak, Joe? Or are you ready?
I'm ready to go. So we'll skip over curriculum right now. The secretary salary for 71,286.
Can you give me that number again? I'm sorry.
71,286.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought he
That's
was.
the one you mentioned before.
Yes.
Guidance.
Tech person for 36,363.
Thank you.
Buzzing and it's that loud.
So that's what I have so far, I guess, two.
Without digging back in, what was the number you had for the curriculum coordinator? The total?
No, skipping that one.
Okay, so just those two.
at this time.
That one right
Two, okay, that's where I was trying to figure out.
I was actually going to cut down because we right now are at $75,000, I believe, for food service from the general fund.
It's 100, right?
Well, we have 100, but I think we're only estimating 75, right?
Oh, in today's budget,
Today's budget.
It was about 75.
as of February
Yep.
28th, right?
Yep.
So I just take out 10,000 from that. Not 25,000, 10,000 because to make it 90. 700.
For next year.
Yes.
I'll ask a question about that one, Joe. Marjorie? How's your confidence level now that we're a month further in? Probably haven't done the numbers, I understand.
No, I'll be looking at them at the end of this week, early next week.
But, okay, then, knowing the information from February 28th,
It's not only that, so it goes a little further right now in regards to staffing. Because we're hiring a few people. Like I know she's had interviews this week where those staffing levels are coming in compared to where I budgeted. And then because they all fall under the support staff contract, I'll get a raise on July 1st.
okay?
So right now, there's kind of a standstill. I do think we'll probably see still a savings on benefits though. Because I believe we're hiring them below the threshold.
I guess my question is your comfort level on going from 100 to 90? Because the last number of years we've been,
And over 100.
and that's my concern.
Yep.
So your comfort level is,
Yeah. So, yeah.
that's what I need to know,
It
because
must be.
it's not like we can say we're not gonna do that. We have to.
Right. Yeah, so I'm.
Okay.
Could we possibly? Maybe, but this is where I get nervous, right? Because we're having this discussion for next year.
I know where I'm at now.
I don't even know where we're going to be June 30th at this point. Like, I'm giving you guys kind of an idea of where we're going to be.
Understand?
But
To move things along, can I ask a question? Sure. Thank you. My concern is, as I brought up earlier, and I've brought it up before, about the behavior of the elementary school. And my question is, does it make sense, per Sam's kind of forced it out of her, but I don't mean that in a negative way, that we hire a behavior coach for the elementary school? And at what I would do would be to pay for that, I would eliminate one of the teachers that we do have in the lower grades. And I can talk specifics if people are interested. I'm not going to do a lot of work on it if nobody's interested. And my rationale for that is that my belief is that we should be working on behavior health and having behavioral health people doing it as opposed to hiring an additional teacher because that group of students is problematic and having the behavior coach working with that particular grade. Or grades, whatever it is. So that's where I'm at, and I'm looking for Terry's opinion on that.
The issue is that we actually have behavior coaching positions open now. We can't hire. So that's my worrisome, is that we're gonna put it out there and still not, we're gonna lose the teacher and not be able to hire a behavior coach.
What's the reason we can't hire?
I think probably was pay.
We're under no obligation not to increase their pay, right?
Correct.
Would it make sense then to, because again, is your belief that behavior is the biggest issue at the elementary school?
Oh, yeah.
So wouldn't it make sense to direct resources to that biggest concern? And if so, we have to make a decision on the priorities of the resources that we do have. Our resources have been cut. Voters chose, that's what they wanted. So we have to make even more tough decisions than we had to make already. So that's where I'm coming from is just where do we, if we believe behavior is the biggest issue there, what do we do to correct it?
So just to clarify, because I don't disagree, but do we have an open rec for a behavior coach right now in the elementary school? So it's not that we don't have.
District.
It's not that we don't have that position available, we just can't fill it.
Right.
So if we were if what you're saying is we would remove a teacher to add a behavior coach, we would essentially have 2 open positions, right? It would double the amount of empty. So I guess the question that comes next is, if we were to fill the one we have open, would that have fulfilled what we need there, or do we need 2? Is 1 enough if we can hire 1? Because we have 1 open position we can't fill. If we can fill that 1 position, is that enough, or do we actually need 2? Because that's.
We need more support.
So
We
2.
need more behavior support.
Okay.
And when you say more, what does that look like?
Well,
Yeah, is it 1? Is it 2? Is
well, I would start with 1 body first. I don't want to, yeah.
For me, again, Steve, I would suggest we increase all behavior coaches as part of this process so that we keep those and we can recruit. And what that number looks like, I don't know. I would rely on the administration to guide us on what that number needs to be. But again, to me, we need to direct resources where it's needed most. And right now, behavior health at the elementary school is our number 1 issue.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I was just trying to clarify,
understand,
do we
right.
have nobody because we didn't have an open spot and we needed to make a spot, or did we have 1 and we were gonna make it 2? So I was just trying to figure
No, I
out
understand.
what
I
that
just-
was,
And also the part about the pay, I wasn't factoring in when I had the conversation because I was not aware that that's an issue that we have. And I know pay is an issue for the whole district. I think it's.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you. Just not write it down, Joe.
I know. Somebody else had a question, I think.
I had
Well, I
a
guess-
comment.
Okay.
I kind of agree with what John's saying, because if the need is so great down at the elementary school, it would be better to focus on these kids because they're coming up to the middle school. And if we can get a hold on them now at the elementary school, there'll be less problems at the middle school.
Wow, theoretically, but yeah.
All right, Joe.
Yes, we do need help. I understand that we need help, but I'm gonna reiterate. Over the last 5 years, our student services have increased our budget by 55%. Well, not the budget, but their services have increased 55%. Regular education, 7.7%. And we gotta, keep giving, we keep trying to do different things, yes, but we're piling money on top of money on top of money now, where I think we need to help our regular education students as well, and just, you know,
Mhm.
cutting one teacher and trying to help the other side, we don't know if that's gonna help, like, budget for something we're not getting anything for, or anybody for.
Yeah, the one thing about that figure, the 55%, if you know it, that's great. What percent of that is related to special education versus behavioral? Because I know buses have gone up hundreds of thousands of dollars. Special education tuition costs, hundreds of thousands of dollars frame. And we've added, after Project Aware was ended, we've added probably $400,000 or $500,000 in mostly salary, vast majority of salary and benefits in that. But it also points that what is the biggest issue we have in this district? And in my humbled opinion, it's behavior district-wide. I don't know where Terry stands on that, but I think he said tonight that behavior for the elementary school is the number one issue we have. The one thing that and I wasn't aware of this, Sam was talking about space, or Terry was. And if we were to do what I suggest, we would have a classroom available for that help, where you can send Johnny down to take his music break, whatever break they're given, as a reward for their good deeds of the day. And again, what I'm looking at is grade 2 next year is going to be, currently grade 1 is 69 students, and there are 5 teachers lined up for grade 2 next year. I would suggest we would take grade 2, eliminate one of those teachers, and they would still have, by my math, 15, is that right? 15 times 4? Yeah, no, that's 60. So it would be 17 students, right? Is that right?
17 and a quarter, if you can pull that off.
18, 17, 17, 17.
And again, it's a matter of prioritizing the resources we have. And I don't know, you know, is it are we going to end up in the negative? We might, because we might need to raise salaries that much. Because how many coaches?
It's on another sheet of paper.
Yeah, I've got it here someplace, sorry. We got it on the wage pool information that we have later for tonight.
So can I do it?
5.
Can I do a quick gut check?
Just want to make sure we're on the same page. 5, 1 open.
Sounds right. Yep.
And their pay is anywhere from currently 26 to 27.2. So we you know, for me, I would raise their salaries, those 5 positions, and I don't know what, by how much, Terry?
Yeah.
But we need to raise them in my mind so that we can, one, keep them, and also hire the open position and then add a 6th position.
Question, how much para support do you have down in the elementary school if you're gonna cut a teacher and, I mean, all these little kids?
Oh, we're short pairs too, off the top of my head, the number I would couldn't tell you.
And a teacher can't handle, I don't think, 18 to 20 little kids, and especially if you have problems in between, you know what I mean? They only have one set of eyes, you know, just.
How many pairs are in 2nd grade? And that one we can't solve.
I'd have to.
I don't know how many paras are in each building. I can tell you how many paras we budget for at the elementary school, if that helps.
That's not, yeah, I couldn't speak to if there are any paras needed for 2nd grade or if we have a dozen.
We are
Don't know.
short pairs. We are short pairs and
No, I understand
Across
that.
the
I just
board.
don't know how many are dedicated
Yeah, I-
to, in theory, are dedicated to 2nd grade. I don't know. Steve?
So just to just a quick gut check, because I don't disagree with a lot of what you're saying, but we're talking about a swap, right? You're talking about basically taking a teacher away and adding an ed coach. I feel like what we started at was we have a gap that we need to close between what we had for our default budget and what we'd like to add. And that seems like it's a zero-sum game. It's a good conversation we need to have.
I don't know, Steve.
But, well, I mean, it's whatever the actual numbers, if we were to go that direction, it's a teacher for a teacher. It's a position for a position. It's not like we're gonna remove one and get that back into the budget to close the gap that we're looking at tonight. So even if we decide to do that, it's not taking us any closer to this 300, and I have it written down like 7 times, but I think it's wrong every time, 336.
9:45.
945, there it is. So I guess I'm just thinking, would it be okay if we kind of put that to the side for now and get back to we have to close this, if what Joe has suggested is acceptable, we're at 107,649, which leaves us a little over 200,000 that we still need to close the gap on.
279,440.
Well, that's why I have
449 without the 10 grand.
I have 71,286,
Let's carry
36,
That was 290, and we're done.
So wait, 71,286 you said for the admin, 36,363 for the tech, but that's all I have down here. Those 2 items.
You know, the 125 for the correct math, right? And the
Oh, for the books. Okay, that's what I was asking.
special education periodicals was 27,800, so that's
27
7,000 or 2,700?
27,800.
for periodicals?
Yep. That's what it says inside the budget, so. So that's 152,800, $9,000 for the trash. 71,286 for the secretary. High school. And then a tech person for 36,363.
What was the trash? Sorry. 9, okay.
Yeah.
So 152,8 and 107,648. 4, 14, 10.
Question for Terry and Marjorie. If we were to eliminate a second grade teacher, what would that be? Just so that we can have that conversation, because Steve is right. If it's a wash, then let's have that conversation another time. But if it's not a wash, then we need to have that conversation now. Or do something with it.
Going back to the para question. So in the budget, we have 15 paras budgeted down there and 6 vacant positions.
But we don't know the second grade. Okay.
I don't know how many are in there.
Right. No, I understand.
I get 269 for you.
That's what I had too. 269, 440.
Yeah. Well, Marjorie's doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna support the, and I'll explain why, obviously. The taking the money from this year. Because we're already taking 450 for capital reserves. So we're right now, it's just over, right around $1 million in expenses. The revenues maybe 400,000 on the positive because the special education memory serves me. So we're at about 1.4. Then we had talked about, doesn't mean we have to do it. We have a lease payment that's due in June. And we need to find a place to take it from. And we originally, when we talked about lease, we were hoping we could pay extra when we could to reduce the principal when we can. So the lease payment's $258,060. So I'm hoping we take that from this year's budget as opposed to CRF because we woefully underfunded that. So now we're up to, if we just round it to 300,000 to try to pay some additional to reduce that principal, we're up to $750,000 in just this year's money alone. And then, I think we need to be responsible and return as much as we can to the taxpayers. And then will I have the, I also, I wouldn't support the 10,000 reduction in food service because I think my humbled opinion is we're gonna be at 100 or more. Historically, that's what we are. And, we asked the administration and they weren't gonna say, yes, we're gonna be lower than 100 because they just don't know the confidence level isn't there.
That was the 9,000, Joe.
That was
what-
10,000.
I didn't add that into 269.
What was the 9 was the
Trash.
the trash, thank you.
Because it came in at.
A little less than we thought.
Sure, raise your hand.
No, over there.
Oh,
I have a question. Just quick, what's the curriculum books for? What grades?
it would be 6 to 12. No, 7 to 12.
Because I'm just saying a lot of the grades, like 8th grade doesn't use math books.
I know.
They're gonna start.
Right? Yeah. When the rest of the district is.
Yeah. So question for Joe, if that's okay.
Can I borrow Terry for a second to try to get to your answer?
Okay. So Joe, we got admin, tech, books, periodicals, trash, totaling 269, 449.
Yes.
So if we need to get to the 336, 945, we're still, I'm gonna call it short, 67, 496, or about 67.5. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm where you're at. That's for those numbers. Do we have to close all that tonight?
Yes.
So we got to come up with another 67,000 to cut.
Because why that is if you're not renewing somebody, we have to do that in the coming days.
Yeah.
Second grade teacher would be about $61,731.
61,731. Thank you.
Welcome.
This is not to throw another monkey wrench at you, but what would the behavior coach be?
So right
Roughly.
now, they're currently 26 to 27,000, just salary, not including bennies. So I don't know what that is. But then it doesn't include how much we'd increase. All of them. How much would you think would need to be increased by?
I'd have to go home and ponder that, think about that.
So there wouldn't be a significant reduction from 61 to 26 plus benefits, maybe 10 or 15 grand. Not that that's small, but in terms of what we're trying to do,
Do they get
change there,
Calculating it
Probably no.
it might be a complete wash.
fast as I can with you guys.
Yeah, no, that's, I think I got what my thought, if it was 120,000 down to 30,000, that's an easy swap in my brain in terms of money value, but it's not, it's kind of but monetarily, it's not a huge swing one way or the other at the end of the day.
Just to solidify that, I think. Marjorie, the RESS two-person, and I'm assuming they're allowed to have insurance.
Yes.
RESS two-person?
I just wanted to clarify. That's about $20,000, isn't it?
RESS
Ballpark, just,
next year is 24.
yeah. So it answers that question pretty quickly.
Pretty much
We're already
even,
there
yeah.
or more.
Yeah, it's like a $10,000 difference
I
maybe.
only wanted,
Less,
you said 20, but I wanted to make sure it was accurate because we have seen significant jumps over the past couple of
Yeah.
years.
No, that's not.
Ball for 20, but it's 20.
Well, the reason I say that is because even then, yeah, we can have that conversation later. Maybe the next meeting. But actually, we'd have to have it now. Because if we're going to eliminate the teacher, a second grade teacher, we'd have to non-renew them in the coming days, correct?
Correct. This would be more of a RIF than a non-renewal though.
Okay. Rick.
Yep, but still.
a lot of love.
Contracts are 11th, right? So you have to have that done before
Joe.
15th.
We took away the second grade teacher. Wouldn't that prohibit what he was trying to do with the classroom in the classroom for those students that need the behavioral health?
I don't think so, because that would be the current pond teacher that would be doing most of that.
So where are we at? It's just,
I'm almost I'm calculating what a current BA is on a two-person plan.
I've got a question, Terry. Hearing all the information, what is your position on the two positions? A second grade teacher versus having additional behavior coach at the elementary school? 'Cause that's what it comes down to.
Yep.
Right? I mean, in a sense, we've got to make a decision. If you say, hey, I'd rather prefer this one versus that one, then
So I guess my question would be, going back to the quarterly reports, was the first grade one of the problem grades at the elementary school, behaviorally? It was K1.
Most of the behaviors right now are kindergarten and second grade,
Current second grade.
current. I mean, there's a couple first graders.
Right, but they're not, because I know there was two, it's pretty clear problem grades in each school. And I didn't know if the current one, grade 1, was one of them. I don't remember. Because that's gonna be next year's grade 2. And that's another thing we gotta consider. Do we want 18 kids in a class if they're already off the wall? Not to drag this out any further,
I'm just,
but is a behavior coach is increasing class sizes gonna cause more issues
that I don't,
than it's gonna resolve? I don't.
it could, the issue in my mind is that we're still so understaffed with paras. We are not working at an optimum position at the school because we have 9 open para positions. That's basically 2 paras per grade. That would be huge, just that alone in fixing the problem. So
That's just,
we're we're robbing Peter to pay Paul, but is Paul going to be paid off or is Peter going to hurt? I don't have an absolute answer. I hate to say yes, it would, and coming back at you saying, oh my God, so.
maybe, sorry, how many behavior people do we have at the middle school?
It's supposed to be 3 and we're down to 2.
So here's the thing, to me. We have an open behavior coach spot. We don't need to create one. We just need to hire one.
Correct, at the middle school.
So can we move the open spot from the middle school to the elementary?
I think we'd have to assess what the 3rd graders coming up next year are going to look like.
Right.
Going into 4th grade, I can say right now, 4th grade's a little bit calmer now than when they walked in the door. I think there's still 1 or 2 students at middle school that definitely take a great deal of time. And again, when they go off, it's a lot more. So
I don't disagree that we need more support at the elementary school, but I am concerned. I agree with Tony. I think increasing class sizes might cause more problems, and it would be great to have an extra behavior coach. But if you robbing from Peter to pay Paul, you might fix some of this on this side, but on the other side, you're just going to cause more issues. So
We're gonna need 3 more behavior coaches because now the second grade is.
right. So do we just move a behavior coach to the elementary, keep the class sizes a little bit smaller? Like, we should be keeping where we are and adding the support. If we have that open rec for a behavior coach and we can actually hire one is the key.
We'd be at what, 12 per class?
We're at 14 or 15 right now.
Currently,
Yeah, it's gonna go up to 18 or 17 or
with
18
the reduction of it.
with the reduction. So right now they're at like 14 or 15, which is, you
So
know,
that's 69 across 5, that's what, like that's 12?
70
15,
divided by 5.
14, yeah,
is-
14.
Yeah, 14 or so. So it's a good size. It's small enough that a teacher can control it. If you add an extra behavior coach, or not an extra, but if we can actually hire the requisition we have open.
But that's a gamble on removing the second grade teacher and hoping we can get that behavior coach where we've already had an, so
That's kind of my
are we
point.
kind of,
We're gonna remove a teacher,
ourselves in the
hopefully
foot,
get
right.
2 behavior coaches. We haven't been able to hire 1. That's my concern. We might end up with 4 teachers and 2 open recs, and now we're doubly screwed because we have more kids per class, less support all around. I would prefer I would prefer if we could hire someone, move them to the elementary or put them at the elementary and keep class sizes where they are. And then if it gets worse or if it doesn't help, then I could see making the swap. But I think we have an open rec, and if we, is that one, can we move it? I mean, if it's yeah. So,
We move people daily.
okay,
We have moved, when things heighten, the BCBA from up here goes down to help out. Mary spends more time down there.
yeah.
So we do move people around when it's, elevated.
How long have they been down one at the middle school? I mean, obviously,
Month. We've had some interviews, nothing.
Nothing's easy, Steve, huh?
No,
I mean, got to the
all rock in a hard place conversation.
Yes.
We gotta get to the 336.
Yeah, well, we got 67,496 to go. We got
More than that.
60.
Again, it's, the difference between the superintendent's salary that's in the,
Oh, that's right. It's in the budget.
It's in the budget.
336.
I,
Yep.
that,
If, assuming Joe's list is a good start, we're still 67,496 that we got to get to.
and the trash is actually about $8,100.
Yeah, it's not 9.
81,
So 68,496.
8119.
I'll throw an extra 1,000 on there. But yeah, so we got a pretty significant chunk.
Yeah, if we're not gonna do staff, then it comes down to programming, and I hope everybody understood that when we came in and have ideas as to what programming we're gonna cut. Jokes down.
You had to druthers about it. Cause I know usually those are for even have grants in the next year or two. Would you rather have a curriculum coordinator or to have more behavioral coaches and teachers?
Yeah, I wouldn't support that conversation.
I don't even know how to answer that one.
We don't have a curriculum coordinator right now.
but it's not,
Again,
it's not like swapping that out. It's gonna be the magic key to the city. They were only gonna get one person, basically a 1-to-1 swap.
Yeah.
Well, no, because it's some $1,000 for that one person.
Right, so you might get two.
John? From an academic perspective, my guess is the curriculum coordinator is the number one need.
I say that we want to start moving,
Forward.
well, again, I'm going to say in 3 years, we are in a better spot than even behaviorally, we're in a better spot than we were 3 years ago.
Yes.
We're still got a ways to go.
Mhm.
Academically, I'll be honest with you, while iReady has pushed the needle somewhat, we're not pushing it enough yet. And Pete even said, one thing he even said today in our meeting was, the next thing we got to start working on is the rigor.
Mhm.
And so, we can't do that when 2 to 3 people are running every 5 minutes to deal with something. This is happening, that's happening, this alarm's going off, this conversation needs to be had, this kid gets sent out, and they're running. So,
How is one person gonna solve that problem?
well, they can actually sit down and start having meetings with individuals, dedicated meetings on curriculum. And so that person's not getting up in the middle of the meeting because Jimmy just, is in the bathroom, the vape detector's going off. We actually got a solid, we know it's exactly him, so we can go instead of 10 people walking in. So that's what's going to happen. There's actually going to be dedicated time so where that individual can say, you know what, after school, instead of having that parent meeting, somebody can sit down and have those PLCs and it can be dedicated. That's why. And hopefully, while I think, Amy has a wealth of knowledge in curriculum, that's not my forte. That's not Tom's forte, and that's not Pete's forte. Joanne's pretty good at it, but she's busier than anybody running.
That and Amy has a principal job to do.
Right.
Now, the other part of the curriculum coordinators we talked about, we wanted them to be looking at grants and writing grants and such, because we don't have anybody in-house that can do it. Or we have people in-house that are doing it, but they have full-time jobs elsewhere, and they're not experts at doing it.
I am petrified. I want entitled the other time I sign my name.
The other part of it is, we've talked about it for years and years and years. Joe knows. Alignment, vertical alignment.
Oh, yeah.
We're always struggling with that. And, you know, we've got teachers teaching something and, but then the student doesn't get something later on because we're not properly aligned.
Yeah.
Vertically.
It sounds silly, but the fourth graders, what even I read, they need to be fairly in fourth grade, fifth, I'm using fourth grade as an example. They need to be fairly aligned on where they're at in the reading and the math. And if somebody starts to slide, why, you know, they're falling behind, why are they falling behind? So that time is dedicated to have those meetings to say, okay, Tony, you know, what's going on? Why are you 3 lessons behind? Or why are you a month behind compared to everyone else? And it could be the fact that they need some extra support in that classroom. We're aware of it so that that parent, instead that is assigned to fourth grade, can start going in during math instead of going in, you know, during health. I'm just, you know, during that, you know, so that resources can be used appropriately. Because those meetings aren't happening now. But we still got to get to 336 and we're a long ways from it.
I'd just like to bring up,
Close, Terry.
we have a list that Terry provided us when we were talking about this originally, when we had to discuss how much were we gonna, what were we gonna propose at the operating budget for the deliberative? The 900
Yeah.
list.
Oh,
And on that list, and I know we've talked about it a little bit, but I want to hear more from Terry about it, is secretary at the middle school, cutting that position. And you're hesitant because we don't have the green room staffed.
correct.
And what is preventing that? Is it salary?
Yep.
And can we,
I have a behavior coach in there right now. That's what we're paying that individual to go in there and to work in that green room. Of course, they're dealing with behaviors, but that's who's in there and they're struggling. No fault, but
so what
they're
is,
dealing with the worst of the worst.
no, I understand. So what is the proper position to put there?
Oh,
Because
An ex-Marine,
what, I know.
ex-Marine.
Thank you, Matt.
You weren't here, but do you remember the middle school and they brought in Caesar? How messed up that was until when Caesar Meladanian came in?
I
and-
wasn't around on the school board, but I was around. I was on the board.
But sometimes that go to bring in real life, that's gonna cost me more profit.
But what I'm trying to drive at is that again, those individuals got there because they're disrupting someplace else, disrupting other students and staff. And that's impacting the education and the behaviors of everybody else. And that's what we're struggling with on a daily basis. I don't see it. I hear it.
Yep.
And they're not special ed kids either.
So
So,
for me, we need to look at either funding things differently, paying more, putting different positions in those spots that need them until they put themselves in essence out of a job. So does the green room require a more advanced level of skill? And if so, what would that look like? Because that go back to the behavior coaches. I would still hope to get another behavior coach, even if it means not eliminating a second grade teacher. Do we look elsewhere in the district? Because it's that much of a priority in my mind. I don't know if everybody else thinks that way, but we have to come up with money. And it's a matter of where we allocate things.
Joe.
I know we've talked about looking at things differently. I know one of the biggest behavioral issues we have is when we have substitutes in a room.
they chew them up and spit
And
them
one of
out.
the biggest things I mean, even if we didn't cut and we reorganize teachers, I would love to have 1 or even 2 full-time substitute teachers in the district. And a lot of districts are going towards that now because 1, they're more respected by the students. Well, they know how to run a classroom because it's actual teachers. I was a substitute, not the easiest job in the world to do because especially when you get up to the higher grades. 7th and 8th grade can be a little bit difficult. In high school, they've kind of calmed down a little bit more, but it's still being a substitute, not easy. And have probably the least amount of substitutes in high school, I believe.
So we've talked about it. I don't know, I guess we've dropped the ball basically, right? Because we've talked about it, I think, for years to do it. I would support that. Hiring a teacher or something, a full-time substitute. I would do one to see how it works. I wouldn't want to put two because, but again, I don't know, that's more money going in the wrong direction. But again, what are we gonna do? Where do the resources need to be put to get better results? And we've got to make some decisions on what we're gonna do on that front.
We're gonna be like,
Go first.
Oh.
So I think about the proposed budget that went down in the default budget. I think from where you guys are coming from, I think about it differently. So please tell me if I'm way off guard right now. But in regards to the propane and electricity, there's $130,000 more budget in the default than in the proposed. For those, because we had to add those back into the default.
We didn't know if the project was gonna get through or stay, right?
Right.
Default couldn't include it.
Right.
That was
Right.
savings.
So there's basically, if I'm hearing you, what you're
So if
saying is we
if I'm
are
looking at-
130,000 over budgeted for gas and oil.
Mhm.
So for all the heating requirements,
Mhm.
we're short what now?
We have more money in the budget because of the default. So like, for instance,
The default, we're going from what we proposed,
Yep.
we're cutting.
right,
So what we proposed had the right amount for energy consumption, correct? Whether it's electricity.
had the estimated,
What?
had the estimated.
estimated, yeah.
And that was like when oil was
Right.
$5 a gallon too, right?
And that's why I'm saying I think of things differently the way that you guys do, so I don't know if I'm way off base here.
Yes.
But for instance, the high school electricity,
No, I agree. We think.
dollar in it, but we budgeted almost 80,000. You guys are looking for that 60,000, but you guys are doing, yeah. See, I'm not,
Yeah, we gotta get
I'm
to
having a tough
336.
time of following
I'm
you
like,
guys.
We're going from the budget that we proposed that didn't pass
Correct.
backwards. And in the budget we proposed, we had already made the energy adjustments.
Okay,
And that's still going forward, so.
Unless the administration feels that, hey, we might be able to squeeze more out of that than we anticipated. Just by the results that we've had from the lights.
We gotta wait till.
We've
to see
we've
that.
seen how many months of
July.
electric bills for the lights. That's all, I know that's the one that is the big number, right? And if we don't have enough information yet, then we don't.
But what did we budget the oil at per gallon for that
Price?
year? Yeah, because I think that was super high then. And we
Mm.
budgeted like $5 a gallon,
No.
Ours wouldn't be like that.
no?
No.
It was two something, I
Really?
think. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I budget off of basically what our current contract is and I add a certain percentage onto it. With an average of gallons.
Is there any other attrition coming up at any of the schools that we haven't talked about yet? Folks who are retiring or leaving or anything?
Those all people have to be, those positions are gonna be filled. And I'm gonna be honest with you, we never hire at the low end.
Right?
No.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we do not have a health teacher at the Bell School right now.
Correct, but we have to have health. That is a requirement. One of those deals, like I said before, I can say, I can say I don't have one, and I'm posting, but when I cut it, they're gonna be like, what are you doing? Then I get in trouble.
We can have an empty position, just not no position.
Correct. It's like, I mean, the conversation, and Doug got it. I'm like, I can't cut these pairs because they're IEP driven.
Right?
I'm not in compliance, but I can look at the DOE and say, hey, the reason I'm not in compliance is I can't hire anybody. I cut them and I'm not in compliance, then I'm in trouble. Then I'm standing in front of the boss and saying, and he's gonna tell you to put them back in.
We do have a health teacher at the school. She's just not health,
Correct, she's teaching FCS.
was health.
Yep.
All right, well, I don't want to be here all night, so let's try to figure out what we're doing, because we still have a non-public crap to do. We got a bunch of stuff on the agenda left here, so what are we doing?
It's up to you guys.
in the backup for information, you had talked about combining at the middle school.
Mhm.
Could you explain that
So
to?
there's two options here. We do have a computer teacher who's retiring. Tech,
Again,
computer tech, same.
No.
Yep, she's retiring.
Thanks.
So we could take that class and take the STEM class and make that one.
and then we could not.
That would
Well, that-
save us
Right.
$71,000. Or the other option too is to take, and we did this at Barrington, is take FCS and health and combine it. Where you would have a healthy eating class where kids would still get that cooking experience and cooking healthy things. And the other half of the part of the time would be health. They probably would not be doing sewing anymore because something's got to go. That is an option too.
What does that save us to do that?
I think it's $65,000 approximately, not counting benefits, salary. So $80,000. Is it 60? It can't be six. It must be, I think it's 65 in salary, and then the benefits. I'm ballparking here, 80,000.
Either combination, whether we combine the tech ed class or the health FCS class, whichever choice we make saves us between 65 and 75,000.
Say yes.
Why both? Why not both? Why one or the other?
Do both of them?
Yeah.
Because then your UA class sizes are going to jump.
So what?
If you did both, I have them, if you did the one, they're with the combination, it's 15, 16, in grade 4, grade 5 is 13, 14, grade 6 is 15, 16, grade 7 is 14, and grade 8 would be 12 and 13. So I'm thinking you were to take those, you'd add 3 to 4 per grade level. So it'd go to 18, 19, 16, 17, 18, 19, 17, and then 15. Well, what am I doing here? I'd be 15, 16. Yeah. I'm
really screwed this.
the class size would be bigger if you cut it down to, now I gotta see how many current UA teachers are.
Before you worry about that,
Yeah.
number one, if we were to do what Beth had suggested, combining both those and eliminating 2 positions, would the 22-to-1 student ratio is at the middle school, but UAs are a little different. I understand that, depending on the UA. Is that manageable at the middle school level? Saying 18, 19 kids for UAs? Some, I don't think would be a problem.
PE's not a problem. Art would be a problem.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, that'd be tough. PE, 30 kids.
So,
Yeah.
In cooking class, you want 18, 20
Well,
kids.
that's not, when you're doing your cooking. Yeah, that'd be,
why I
good
asked.
point. That'd be tough too.
Right.
So I would,
sorry, to Tony's point of let's get this over with. If we do either one of those combinations with the stuff Joe listed, we've hit our number. Because what Joe put together was 269,
hold up.
449. I added back 1,000 because we said the trash wasn't 9, it was 8. So we left us with a gap of 68,496. And if we combine one for a savings of $70,000, we are $2,000 over what we needed to close the gap for. 71,000 for the admin, 36 for the tech position, 125 for the books, 27 for the periodicals, 8 for the trash, and 70 for the combined teachers. That's over 336. That puts us at 338.
So,
I would personally probably go for the combined, make it like a tech, combine the tech classes.
would that be better off? Would you be better off doing the health thing?
We have to
Because
do the health.
Here's the conundrum.
You have to have health.
I don't want to pigeon myself into something because we have posted for health for all year. What I'm thinking is we post for, both and see where I'm at. And then whoever bites first, I combine that one. Does that make sense?
Whichever one you fill first, you combine the other one.
Yep.
I'm with that. That makes sense. Post them both. If you pick up this one, you combine the other one.
But that'll be the one that they both show up and be like, oh, we'll get 10 applications for both positions.
I guess.
Well, then you're gonna trust me. I'll pick the best one.
Listen, the history that we've had is that we will not get that embarrassment of riches, unfortunately.
So
Yeah, but we already have we already have the health teacher.
we do.
So I would say help and, try and find somebody for tech. If we can't, well,
But I don't, I have to find one. I can't roll the dice and say, and not find one or the other. If I can't find a health teacher, you know what I'm saying? So then I'm just telling you, I have to post for both and then go with it. Because we haven't found a health teacher in a year and a half.
Why post for both when you get help? Just add for.
But I need, if I can't get a tech teacher either. Now I'm combining health and P, because I haven't opened up health. I'm combining health and FCS, and I'm gonna have to combine the tech because I wasn't able to find a computer teacher either.
Be a computer cooking class by the time.
You have to have a cooking class.
And a little bit, right?
ChatGPT to write your recipe. That's what it's.
You have to have a cooking
Right.
class too.
No,
I would, sorry.
FCS is no longer at 306s.
I
Well,
would,
then you could just do health and get rid of FCS and.
I think,
I don't know that, no.
yeah, yes, you could do that, but I would say the parents would probably be, at the next meeting if we, because that is one of the more popular classes.
Your parents to show up?
Which,
Oh, they would
That'd
show
be a
up,
plus.
which one?
FCS.
Yeah, I wouldn't support cutting that, but that's just an. Because I think it offers different perspective, different activities for the kids that the other ones don't.
Talking to other schools that don't have FCS, they would love to have
Oh.
gone to our school.
She's rare. It's rare to find one. I mean,
We do at 109, all those stoves down there.
I'm just, that's what we did. We had to come, we couldn't find anybody in Barrington, so that's when I got creative. Because I knew that the kids really wanted it.
You're at the high school, Tony?
Yeah.
We have a French teacher doing FCS and French.
Oh, that's fine. That's French. That's all.
And make a kind of croissant.
I was gonna say.
All French food.
Let's not forget the crepes Suzette.
They made the crepes yesterday. She brought them home.
And Spanish, do we have to have Spanish at the middle school? So why aren't we looking at that?
We are. Non. Oh,
Yeah, and I don't believe we need to have Spanish
are we
because
still on?
would it be nice? It would be
We're always
nice to
on.
do that.
Well, then.
Because again, I'm looking at, we need to pay more in behavioral health. And here, we know of a problem and we acknowledge the problem, but we're not going to try to solve the problem. It doesn't make sense to me. And the biggest issue we have in the district is behavior.
Joe.
I don't like cutting the Spanish, anything in Spanish, because we are one of the only, yes, I know we've looked. Amazingly enough, other districts around here can get Spanish teachers, but Raymond, I don't know why.
I've been trying since Tina McCoy to get it.
Well, we had one.
Well, we had-
And then we had another one.
On before that.
Yaris, I forget her first name, but then she got hurt. She got injured.
Yes, I mean, we have one,
Oh, yeah.
but I would
We
not,
still have a Spanish teacher.
yes,
Yeah.
and I would not sit there and look at not having Spanish, because I think every other school district around here has it, and I think it puts our high school kids at a disadvantage.
I don't understand.
Middle schools have Spanish?
Yeah.
Joe, Tony?
Joe. Joe.
Yeah, I don't understand how that could put the high school students at a disadvantage because we offer 4 years of Spanish. And we've already looked at the numbers. Not a lot of kids go and take the 4th year of Spanish. They could take 5 years if they start at 8th grade, but they just end earlier through either 3 years of Spanish or 4 years. So it's not a matter of that it's going to hurt the students. It's a matter of a little inconvenience for them because they won't have free senior year. They might have to take Spanish if they want 4th year. But I'm looking at, we have behavior health issues. In my mind, we should eliminate the Spanish teacher at the middle school and put that money into behavior. Either through salary or adding another position or a combination. It would be nice to have a Spanish teacher, but I'm looking at needs versus want, or wants versus, needs versus wants. Excuse me.
First.
Agree with that. Because they can't learn Spanish if they're not behaving themselves. They're getting kicked out of class.
That's part of it.
Well, those are likely not the same pools of kids.
Oh, probably not.
Correct, because you have to get a certain grade in English to take Spanish in 8th grade.
I don't know if that's the case anymore.
right
I
now.
I don't remember what the.
Why she's struggling.
I think everybody has to take it.
The kids
I
not
think they do,
behaving.
right? I think there's a small percentage that doesn't.
But it's extremely small from what I've led to believe that basically everybody's taking it. So there's no threshold.
So
Again,
can I make a motion?
please do.
All right. So Joe, you'll have to fact check me, but I'm gonna make a motion.
I can write it down.
Me too.
Please
Go slow.
Yeah, go slow, please.
I'll make a motion that we, I want to make sure I say it right. It was the guidance secretary, the admin assistant for 71,286. The technician, the tech for 36,363. The periodicals for 27,800. The trash difference of 8,100. The combined UA for 70,000. Approximately
71.
71. That'll change my total. And then taking the curriculum books out of this year's money for 125,000 puts us at $339,549, which is about 3,000 more than we needed to account for.
All right, activities are plus.
My theory was, because I don't want to take away special education periodicals, that was to be purchased with this year's budget as well.
Oh, so I will amend yes, thank you. Nope, that's why I said to check my numbers. To also purchase from this year the periodicals for 27,800. The total still stands for 339,549.
And that would be what, 152
152,800.
coming out of this year?
152,800 total.
One second, Joe seconds. Discussion, John.
Yeah, the special education periodicals, do we know that we can buy them prior to the end of the year? In that, do we know specifically what periodicals we need to buy? Because is it one of those things that as the year progresses, they determine what is needed, or do they buy up?
They buy it. And I think it's more of a licensure than it is a periodical, so you can buy it up front.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that
What's a periodical?
It's just a licensure of a program.
Oh, okay.
I think of a magazine when I think of.
I do too.
Yeah, I was like.
Yeah, subscriptions on the iPad.
Expensive magazine.
Have the the iPads and stuff, for kids for the discrete trials and all that stuff.
So basically, yeah,
License to do that.
or a seat if you're programming.
Yeah.
John.
Yeah, again, I'm not going to support it because I don't support 825 or the 27,800 coming out of this year's budget because we're already taking close to 750,000 out already. And so I won't support the motion. And I know it will pass, but I'm just voicing why. So the minutes are reflective of that.
Noted. Any other discussion? Vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
John is opposed. All right, next up, audit report.
It's exciting at 9 o'clock at night. Yeah.
I have a question and you raised it earlier, Tony. We've got non-public to do also. So my concern is there anything that we can remove and not do tonight? And so that we can get to, because I think non-public will last a little while.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be here at the next meeting, so we can do this, push it back to the next meeting. I'm fine with that.
Or even
So
strategic plan or policy.
those next three things, can we,
Oh, yeah.
nominations we need to do?
Yep.
Resignation.
Good.
Is that all right for everybody?
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, you wanna make a motion to table those items or
I think you can just
skip over them? So we'll go right into what, committee reports?
Nominations.
Oh, nominations, okay. You got any nominations for?
No, I do have a resignation.
Okay.
Paula Olivera, Polly S. Principal resignation effective June 30th, 2025.
That's gonna require a committee. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we accept the resignation of Paula Olivera effective June 30th, 2025.
Second by Joe. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anything else?
I got nothing.
All right, committee reports, any committees?
Wasn't able to go to Raymond Coalition Youth
Oh.
today, but
Oh,
I did go to the gala, and the gala was,
three of us.
three of us were there. It was nice. I mean, they've done the gambling type casino night for the second time. I might make a suggestion, maybe to switch it up for next year.
Yeah, I'm horrible at gambling.
Some of the games I never even heard of, it was high, low, and I thought that was for 12-year-olds, but I guess it's something you can do that.
I think if I would have played craps in Vegas, like I played Saturday
You
night,
were there all night throwing
I would have
dice.
won a lot of money. I rolled for an hour.
No, he's like, oh, I'm not staying all
You're
night. I
right.
turn around, he's still throwing dice after 3 hours. I'm like, what are you doing?
Why does this luck happen here for fake money? Man,
You must have had all the luck.
I would have been tired out the door.
Just say Newman?
My lake house.
That's the best.
Maybe I could bring these. I was rolling so much.
Is it Friday or Saturday?
Saturday night.
Saturday night.
I thought they were going for real money at this table a couple of times, and I'm like, don't get too excited here, people.
So superintendent report.
I've got one thing. Raymond High School had 8 athletics attend the Scholar of Athlete Award Ceremony on Monday, the 31st. Students showed what it is to be a student athlete as well as an active member of the school and community. Congratulations to the following students. I apologize if I butcher some names here. Camden Morrow, Bianca Bergeron, Clayton Kramer, Lily Darling, Caleb Pekalowski, Pakowski, sorry, Gustavo De Silva, Amina Jennings, and Abigail Yokel.
Those are all seniors, just NHIA.
So like,
Everybody up to Concord and
Good. Respond to other. Then, just went to the gala, lost mine and my wife's fake money.
Turned around when I left. Where's Tony?
Anybody else?
There's a Boosters comedy show Friday night. Helping to raise money.
Where?
It's gonna be at the O'Neill Cinemas. Doors open at 6:30, shows at 7.
Is that for the high school athletic boosters for
It's the Raymond Rams.
Raymond Rams? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we did one last year. It was great. So
is it sold out again?
I don't think it is. I think it's because we're doing it at the theater. The advertising.
so
has
there's
been
Is that the one you guys did over at the bowling alley last year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we bring in another performer. His name is Mark Riley. He's fantastic. He actually used to be an NHL ref for about a week.
I can see why.
He's still a college ref.
Tough
Mm.
gig.
Yeah, it was funny. He talks about it, but he talks a lot about sports and hockey and stuff in his act. So he'd be perfect for the show. So
When is that?
Friday night, 7:00 at the O'Neill and Epping.
They still had tickets as of 2 nights ago.
And you could buy those where?
I think they have them on an Eventbrite page.
I have no idea what that means.
So if you go to the Raymond Boosters on Facebook.
Yeah, they'll have a link to
They
it.
have a link there too, and I think Aaron's posted it other spots as well.
All right, 10-4.
But anyway, come out, support the Boosters.
All right. Manifest signing.
Before you tonight, $194,679.04 for accounts payable. Payroll is $541,800.34 for a grand total of $736,479.38. Thank you.
All right, approval of minutes. John, have anything?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 12th, 2025, public minutes.
Any discussion? All those in favor? All right.
You would have.
Oh, yes.
Right, so,
Just before my.
Yep.
Stand.
So we got non-public minutes, too.
Yeah, I'll make a motion. All right, Tony,
Go for
make a
it.
motion to approve the March, 8th, February 12th, 2025, non-public and unsealed. Second.
All right, second.
Okay with unsealing them?
Yeah.
No, I thought so.
So there's
Good minute taker there. I can hide stuff.
hiding.
Excited.
You can't say,
Discreet. I know. I get it.
all right, wait a second. All those in favor?
Discreet.
We need to do
Aye.
a little
Aye.
thing.
Abstain. 4-1.
It's a tough budget conversation. It's fine. We get it. We're all a little
I'll
punchy.
make a motion to approve the March 19th, 2025 minutes.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve the March 19th, 2025 non-public minutes and unseal those also.
Second.
Okay,
Steve? Seconds? All those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Ready for non-public?
Yes, sir.
Make a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91, A:3, Roman numeral 2, A, B, and C.
Second.
All right, second by Joe. Any discussion? Steve?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Thank you very much.